Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, Mondays are my busiest day. Mondays, I have several meetings that are just standing meetings that are scheduled on Monday. And then, of course, I have the 5 p.m. stream. And then I have a supporter call in my community that starts at 7 o'clock and usually goes until roundabout now, even sometimes a little bit later than now. And we just wrapped up the supporter call just a couple minutes ago. And I took a quick break. And I was going to be writing tonight, because that's usually what I do at night. Except that I'm going to make an example of someone tonight, because I think it's important that people know who these influencers are and who conservatives are in general. Not all conservatives. There are wonderful conservatives. But the ones that are playing this content game predictably turn out to be unethical, unprincipled assholes that care more about engaging in internet bullshit and drama than they do about doing anything productive. Oh, and don't forget the hero worship. I suspect we're going to be talking a lot about hero worship tonight. And this is why conservatives predictably lose, because they don't focus on anything that's productive. They don't focus on building a vision. They don't focus on a strategy. They don't even do a really good job of exposing what's going on. Oh, I'm sure our buddy Joe is having all sorts of feelings tonight. I'm sure Joe is having so many feelings because he's such a little bitch. I'm sure he's a really, really little bitch. Because only men who are compensating for something engage in the type of nonsense that he's engaged in. You know, Joe could have talked to me about any number of topics when I went on his channel the other night. I was stupid. You know, oh, he's welcome to stream snipe. He is welcome to do that. I was stupid when I went on his stream the other night. Okay, maybe I was high and I was not in my right mind. Because I have consistently told you guys, and by the way, for mods tonight, because I'm sure we're gonna have visitors from his channel, I want my mods to know that you are more than welcome to block his visitors tonight. Just really be sure if you block someone that they are actually an outrage junkie and that they're just here to cause problems. Normally, I tell my mods not to block people, and that I will be the only one that like bans people. Like they can put them in timeout, but I'm the only one that bans people. Like I'm lifting the rule tonight. You guys are welcome to bring the ban hammer down because I ain't doing this. Where was I? I was stupid the other night. You know, I've been talking a lot with Joshua about, you know, why don't you try partnering with people? And I say, I don't really want to partner with people. They disappoint me every time. And he says, well, you know, Carlin, just because it's happened in the past doesn't mean that it's going to happen this time. And I said, well, I don't know about that. But the other night I was high and Vince told me that he was streaming and I was going to be on it. And I was like, you know what, whatever. And I went over and I sent in a super chat, not really thinking anything would happen. They said, why don't you come on the stream? And I did. And you know, it was cordial enough until it got to the end, and then obviously it was very clear to me that his fifis weren't a bunch. And I learned a lot on that stream. I learned that I hate as well this cult of personality. I do as well. And I did a stream about it the other night, and one of the big things that I learned was that on the conservative right, it truly is a cult of personality. It is all about hero worship. It's not about exposing what's going on. It's not about doing good in the world. It's not about changing anything. It is quite literally just about hero worship. Now, this is important for me to know because I actually am trying to be productive. I actually am trying to teach people. I actually am trying to do Peter. Don't make me block you, Peter. No, I would never do that. You're King Peter of the chat. You can't get blocked. It's against the rules. So it's important for me to understand what I can expect from conservatives. And, you know, you guys know I have been not all conservatives. I do have conservatives on my channel. I do have conservatives who show up regularly. So I don't want to make it seem like it's all of them. But in terms of like influencers, media, they have left me wanting on many occasions because I don't think that they actually care about any of this. I don't think they actually care about any of this at all. And I don't judge people. I don't judge people based on their words. I judge people by their behaviors. Their behaviors will tell you everything that you need to know about them. Reagan was there. Oh, Vince, this wasn't your fault. Like, this was not your fault, okay? You don't need to feel guilty. Reagan was there the other night and she said, we have to be crystal clear. Much of his chat was mean, cruel, and toxic, and they weren't even interested in the topic, just constant insults to the channel guest. And you know what? I would have been completely, you know, okay with that had this bullshit not continued and had Joe himself not escalated it. You know, I sat there and I watched his chat dox my friend again. Now, the smear campaign that they're running is the same smear campaign that's been run against me for a really long time now. You all know what it is. I have spoken to it before. I am not going to spend any time speaking to it again because I have spoken to it before. And my regular audience knows what's going on. They know that this is losers on the internet who are, quite frankly, jealous that they didn't get the platform that I built in 2020. And they have been stalking me and harassing me and behaving in a generally unhinged manner every single day since. I have documented this completely. I wrote a whole book about this. And so you like to think that when you have good principled conservatives, right? They're not going to feed into this bullshit at all. Well, no. No, they always do. They always do. See, there are a lot of things that I can talk about with people. Let's just take a look at my Substack here. My Substack is, of course, one of my home bases for content. There are a lot of things that I can talk about with people on, any given day. I'm usually doing original reporting. I'm usually breaking stuff down, all that good stuff. Let's just go through some of the things that I could talk about with people if they actually cared about doing anything productive at all. If conservatives, and specifically in this case, Good Logic, actually cared about doing anything productive at all in order to make progress in the culture war, in order to understand what's going on the woke left, in order to start formulating strategies to fight back in terms of understanding the left at all, because the right does not understand the left at all in any way. There are any number of things I could talk to them about. Let's just go through just a couple of them. We could talk about how socialists are actively trying to figure out, this is a real thing, how to gestate babies in the bodies of brain dead people, because the real thing that socialists talk about quite a bit is abolishing the biological family, and they want to have all children born via surrogacy. And there are journal articles where they're actively trying to figure out how to gestate babies in the bodies of brain dead people, men and women, by the way, not just women. We could talk about that. It's kind of interesting, kind of spicy, a little out there, a little extreme, a little extra dystopian, but we don't even need to go that far. We could talk about how Target is actively funding clubs in your kids' schools, not the curriculum. This is different than the curriculum. Target is actively funding clubs in your kids' schools through GLSEN that is training your kids how to be left-wing activists. I'm pretty sure I'm still the only person that's actually reported on this, showing all the receipts of this. We could talk about that. You would think that maybe good conservatives who actually want to do things that are productive in the world would be interested in this. They've been reading about Target for days. We could talk about that. We could talk about how far left trans activists are opening a groomer middle school exclusively for trans kids. I am the only person that I know of in the world to have reported on this. I'm the only person talking about this. This is real. They're opening an after-school program in a couple of months in New York exclusively for trans and non-binary kids, taught by trans and non-binary people, and they're definitely not grooming. Definitely not. Now, how I found out about this when no one else in the world was reporting on it was because I also am the only person to report on the fact that Tufts University is currently, as we speak, doing a study of non-binary 3-year-olds in order to reverse engineer how this whole gender thing works, which means they're reverse engineering how to trans your kids more effectively for anyone that's like not paying attention. And the professor, the assistant professor of psychology that is doing this study, is also advising the groomer middle school that's going up in New York. And that's how I found it. I don't think anyone else has reported on these stories, but I have. We could talk about proof from the Cambridge, Massachusetts school district that they are teaching anti-racist math in elementary school, because I have quite literally the training curriculum that is showing that they're training teachers in Cambridge, Massachusetts to teach anti-racist math in elementary school. We could talk about that. What else could we talk about? We could talk about the conference that is going to be happening in less than 2 months, an annual conference where they are quite literally training teachers from all over the country to queer your kids in school starting in elementary school. That might be something that those good conservative parents would want to know, wouldn't you think? I mean, they're all sending their kids to public school, even though we've repeatedly warned them not to. And I can quite literally show them exactly what they're training the teachers that are going to be teaching their kids in schools. We could be talking about that. Why aren't conservatives interested in that when they claim to be interested in grooming? We could talk about queer math camp. Now conservatives caught up to me on this one because finally last week conservatives discovered the queer math camp. We knew about this weeks ago because, again, I was the only person to report on it, and we may have someone infiltrating queer math camp. We may have someone infiltrating queer math camp because no one else is going to do it. So it might as well be my community that's doing it, yeah? Tanya, thank you. I'm so sorry this BS continues to go on. I never heard of this person of low moral fiber that is smearing you and will never bother now. Your community stands behind you. I appreciate that, Tanya. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, so I was the first person to report on this. Conservatives caught up last week. Congratulations, conservatives. You got there eventually. We could have talked about that, though. We could have talked about the teacher in Colorado who I found 2 years ago. I found this guy 2 years ago overtly teaching his kids critical race theory. His kids, I shouldn't say his kids because they're not his kids. His students critical race theory in history class in Colorado, announcing it all over Twitter. And then 2 years later, this guy, who is a Marxist, got a resolution passed by the Colorado Teachers Union denouncing capitalism. And now guess what? He's running for office in Colorado. I caught this guy 2 years ago. Conservatives caught up 2 years later. They finally got there. You know, better late than never, I suppose. We could have talked about this 2 years ago, though, before they passed the resolution denouncing capitalism. That probably would have been ideal. But no, we can't do that because I'm not James O'Keefe. And therefore, my investigative reporting doesn't matter. And that's just the way it goes, guys. I mean, investigative reporting doesn't matter unless it's James O'Keefe. That's the only time we're going to talk about it. What else could we have talked about? Oh, Michigan. Oh, God. I did a 3-part expose on the training that the Michigan Department of Education did for all of the teachers in the state of Michigan, where they did, well, several things. First off, they overtly, and I have the full complete videos of this series of trainings, and I broke down all the clips just to make it simple. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's reported on this on the internet. I have the full complete trainings that show that the Michigan Department of Education is training teachers to groom students. I have the videos showing how they're doing it, exactly what they're teaching, demonstrating that this is not theoretical, it's exactly what they're teaching. I have videos of the Michigan Department of Education, and this is before people were really paying attention to the policy stuff, because God knows we don't want to catch things before they become a problem. God knows that would require listening to people who are not James O'Keefe, and we can't do that because we have to engage in hero worship on the right, and James O'Keefe is the only person that matters. So it doesn't matter that we could have gotten ahead of this requiring teachers to lie to parents about pronouns thing, which most of the conservative right doesn't even know is going on, but it's actually going on in over 6,000 schools across the country, and we have the policy documents to prove it. But most of the conservative right has no effing clue that schools are allowed to secretly transition your students without telling you, lying to you about it. They will actually lie to you about what name and pronouns your kids are using at school because the Michigan Department of Education is training all teachers in the state of Michigan. Schools don't have a legal obligation to tell parents that a student goes by a different name and pronouns. And I have it all on video. But it doesn't count because I'm not James O'Keefe. Oh, wait, one more from Michigan. One more. They also are training teachers to help students come out to their parents. Here's a slide. If an elementary age student is not comfortable telling their parents or guardians about their identity, should I work proactively with the student with the goal of the student talking to their parents and guardians, or should I let the students set their own goals? So teachers in Michigan are literally creating plans to help students come out as trans to their parents because, of course, remember, teachers in Michigan don't have to tell parents what name the kids are using. That's the Department of Education's training them on that. They don't have to tell parents what pronouns the kids are using. The Department of Education is training parents on that. See, Wyoming gal here is saying, I've heard about secret transitions on several channels. You didn't hear about them before I started reporting on it. I was one of the very first people reporting on this, Wyoming gal. They all reported on. I've had this video for a while. But you didn't know about it because I'm not James O'Keefe. And therefore, people on the conservative right should never talk about this stuff before it actually becomes a problem. This video is old. This video is years old. Where were you? Where were those other channels? Oh, wait, I'm not James O'Keefe, and so we can't look at it. How about the Socialist Conference? Because I quite literally have pictures of an abortion tour. I have a whole abortion tour photographed to include abortion activists training people to have abortion doulas. And have you guys seen the spiritual shrine that you worship at after you have your abortion? This is a real thing. Has a fertility goddess on it and everything. This is a shrine to worship the self after you have your at-home bathroom abortion. I'm the only person on the internet to report on this. This is from Hampshire College, like a month and a half ago. What else could conservatives be talking about if they actually cared about moving the needle? Well, oh, how about this? Now, this didn't actually come from me because I'm not all parents. I'm not all activists. Other activists do things too. This was from Erin for Parental Rights, who is a mom in Colorado. And Erin has been doing FOIA work for a really, months, maybe, I think maybe even years. Erin is currently suing a school district in Colorado, and she got FOIA emails showing that the principal in Colorado was lying to parents to secretly transition their fifth grader. And that's not even the only time I've reported on something like that. Hang on, let's do this one. I was the very first person. The Blaze picked it up after I did, but I was the very first person to report that a family in Long Island was suing their student's fifth grade teacher and the school district for secretly transitioning the child. Got that one too. We could be talking about all these things, conservatives, except that I'm not James O'Keefe. And so none of this matters, and it's not important. And the only thing that is important is James O'Keefe, because we are worshiping heroes now, aren't we, conservatives? How about the Burlington School District? Because, of course, I exposed, well, it wasn't even just me. Me and my community exposed the Burlington School District grooming kids live on the internet, middle school kids live on the internet over a year ago. But I've still been reporting on the Burlington School District, where currently 44% of the students in the Burlington, Vermont school district are reporting as gender nonconforming. They quite literally have a checklist to keep track of how much LGBTQ flair they have on the walls at any given time. They're still training kids on crazy stuff. And in fact, the Burlington school district has now ascended to like next level lunacy, because in the Burlington school district, the kids are grooming the teachers. What do I mean by that? In the Burlington, Vermont school district, they have been training kids in this crazy social justice ideology for so long that they now have the kids lead the groomer trainings that are normally done by teachers on students. They now have the children leading the groomer training in the elementary school library for parents in the community. And I have the slide decks to prove it. We could have talked about that. And of course, the go-to that Kino and I infiltrated, that no one else on the internet has, that is one of the most shocking things that I have ever seen. We have the full training where they are teaching teachers to groom autistic children. You know, there's been this whole big frenzy in conservative media. It's the trans stuff is impacting autistic children more. How did that happen? The trans stuff is impacting autistic children are coming out as trans at a disproportionately higher rate. How did that happen? Well, I have some ideas about how that happened. I have some ideas, conservatives, about how that happened, because we literally infiltrated and recorded their private training where they laid out exactly what they're training teachers to teach your autistic children. And if you have autistic children, you need to watch this, because they are training they are teaching your autistic children how to masturbate with sex toys. They're teaching them that most autistic children are trans and non-binary. They are teaching them how to find porn on the internet. They are teaching them all manner of crazy, crazy, crazy things. And this was given as a keynote at the National Sex Ed Conference, which means that it is the standard for how this is done and is considered best practice. Now, I just went through what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, over a dozen stories. I just told you over a dozen stories that are original reporting, original journalism, that most people don't even know about, or conservatives get around to reporting on it like months, or in some cases, years after I report on it, when it's already a much bigger problem than it was when I originally reported on it. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm the only one doing this type of work, because I'm absolutely not the only person doing stuff like this. I am one of many people that are ignored by conservative influencers and conservative media. And I bring this up because I am a little bit tired of having all of these resources for conservative influencers to utilize, to share with their audiences, to show their audiences, to actually teach people what is going on. I break it down for them. I make it simple for them. I give them quite literally everything they need for them to have productive conversations with their audiences and show them what is actually happening, because conservative influencers seem to be under the impression that they're winning, and they're not winning. They are not remotely winning. They are not anywhere close to winning. Joe even said it on this channel the other night. I think we've turned a corner. Oh, no, 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 genius. Oh, no, 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 no. You are nowhere close. Now, my community knows that because we actually look at primary source documents all the time. We do this as an activity. It's like a group event. Kino says conservatives are too hyper-focused on culture war issues while missing the point. They miss the point colossally. Miss the point colossally. But do you know what they will focus on? Do you know what Joe's audience will focus on and what Joe encourages? Joe's audience will focus on my weight. They will focus on my hair. They will ask the serious question, am I a man or a woman? They will ask if I'm a lesbian. They will dox my friends. Someone actually paid money to Joe the other night to send in a super chat doxing my friend because that is deemed more important than anything. And of course, they will absolutely focus on spreading the same smear campaign that they have been spreading for years to try to discredit and destroy everything I'm doing. Because they would much rather destroy everything I'm doing. They would much rather people never learn about how autistic kids are being transed in schools. They would never learn about the teachers that are grooming their kids secretly, or what's going on with a school district that is literally so far ahead of other school districts that the kids are literally grooming the teachers. They would have you never learn about this stuff. They would have you never see the abortion shrine where you're literally worshiping yourself after your at-home bathroom abortion. They wouldn't show you the Department of Education trainings in Michigan where they are literally planning to help your kids come out as trans to your parents and how to groom your kids to make them trans in the first place. They don't care about that Marxist teacher in Colorado that I found 2 fucking years ago and everyone ignored until that Marxist teacher, who everyone thought was a joke when I found him 2 years ago, manages to get a resolution passed denouncing capitalism 2 years after I found him. They found Queer Math Camp weeks after I did, when we already had people starting to infiltrate it. They don't care about the conferences and the trainings that are training teachers to trans your kids. They don't care that anti-racist math really is being taught in elementary school. It's not a joke. It's not a gag. It's not a punchline. We actually have the proof of it in the effing teacher training manual. They don't care that Tufts University is currently trying to reverse engineer how to trans your children starting at 3 years old. They don't care that far left trans activists are opening a groomer middle school exclusively for trans kids in New York. They don't care that Target is funding the clubs and schools that are training your kids how to be left-wing activists. And they certainly don't care that as we speak, like the real Marxists are trying to figure out how to gestate children in brain dead bodies because they don't want the biological family to exist. They don't care about any of that. Joe doesn't care about any of that. None of these conservative jackasses who claim to care about these issues care about any of that. But do you know what Joe did do today? He did elevate the unhinged lunatic who has been stalking me for years. Because, of course, as Joe made very clear on his channel the other night, as he made very clear, I am not James O'Keefe. And because I am not James O'Keefe, my work is just not important to him and his audience and the conservative right. It's just not important. But what is important to Joe, after he let his audience pay him money to dox my friend, who has suffered more than enough in this lifetime for something that he didn't do, after he allowed that, after he allowed his chat to attack me for hours, and I didn't take it personally at the time because losers in the chat are going to be losers in the chat. He really saw fit to elevate this unhinged lunatic. This woman was literally institutionalized for a full year. She is a woke knitter. Literally was institutionalized for an entire year. Got out of the institution and then started stalking and harassing me quite literally every day of her life. And who is Joe elevating on Twitter? What is he spending time doing on Twitter? Oh, because supporting people who are stalking me, smearing me, doxing my friends every single day for years is just too good of an opportunity to pass up for our good lawyer friend Joe. That's just too important. That's too important. This is the real breaking news right here. It's not as though I've been targeted by these people for the last 2 years of my life, as I've been trying to do all the original journalism, and as I've been running a community of people, teaching them how to do it, and as I've been writing books about this stuff, and as I've been breaking down the woke ideology. That's not good enough. None of that matters because I'm not James O'Keefe. Remember, we only do hero worship on the conservative right. But when it comes time to elevate an unhinged lunatic who has quite literally been stalking me and harassing me and doxing my loved ones for 2 years, Joe's right there, man. Right there. That is an emergency situation that has to be elevated. That has to be broadcast all over the internet because we have to support people who are engaging in never-ending, unhinged smear campaigns because they're not all there. That is who the conservative right is. That is who they are. That is what they care about. They don't care about any of the things that they claim to. They don't care about grooming in schools. They don't care about kids. They don't care about drag queens. They don't care about Dylan Mulvaney. They don't care about any of these things at all, because if they did, perhaps they would focus their energy on things that actually matter rather than elevating unhinged lunatics as a part of a smear campaign. But nope, that's just the type of person Joe is. He has to feed his outrage addicted audience after all, because his outrage addicted audience isn't interested in truth, isn't interested in facts, isn't interested in any of these things. Because if they were, they would know that I've been documenting the smear campaign for a while. I wrote a whole book documenting the smear campaign. You can find it at survivingcarriesmith.substack.com. If Joe's audience is really interested in the truth and the receipts on the smear campaign that they're spreading, and they're not just doing it to feed their outrage addiction on the internet, all the receipts are there. They can go through them. Tens of thousands of words, over 1,000 screenshots, all documented on survivingcarriesmith.substack.com. And yeah, it's all fun and games until your son is wearing a dress with she, her pronouns. Isn't that right, Kino? They might, this is why, I got in trouble. Well, we'll come back to that. 1 second. Because this isn't the only website that I've documented this on. If they want more information about how my friend pleaded guilty to a crime he didn't commit because he was railroaded by the government because of the actions of his best friend, and then his lawyers convinced him to plead guilty to a crime he didn't commit, and he ended up in prison for a really long time, and I stood by him. If they want to know all the details to that and how that happened and why that happened in his own words, they're welcome to avail themselves of that. It's not as though these receipts don't exist. It's not as though this information doesn't exist. It's not as though this information hasn't been out there for a really long time. But they don't care about facts. They only care about outrage. They only care about trying to discredit that's another thing. We'll talk about that in a sec. Every single thing that I've given you to show you what's really going on. Original reporting that no one else is doing. They don't care about any of this. They never talk about any of this. They never share any of this. Fucking Groomer Middle School. Groomer Middle School that I am literally the only one who's reported on in the world that I know of. And I looked. They don't care about any of that. They just care about spreading smear campaigns to feed their outrage addiction. Because I'm not James O'Keefe, and because I'm not James O'Keefe, none of this matters. All that matters is doxing my friend who wrongfully went to prison for a crime he didn't commit years ago, who I haven't even really spoken to in 5 years, dragging an innocent person who pleaded guilty to a crime he didn't commit, a smear campaign, by the way, that was spread by Mike Harlow from the Walkaway campaign. This was spread by the Walkaway campaign because I became a libertarian, and that's just not allowed in the land of conservatives. So they dug through my history to find my college boyfriend, who I haven't even spoken to in probably 5 years at any length, who has moved on with his life, who has a family of his own, and continue to this day for fun to drag him through the mud. Someone literally paid Joe money on his stream the other night to drag him through the mud. And Joe wants to claim that they care about the truth. They absolutely care about the truth. They care about the facts. They care about all of these things. Except that all the receipts are out there on this website and on this website, and it has been put out multiple times, and yet all of those good conservatives who would never dox people just for fun, who would never smear people just to fun, who would never do any of these things, because they're good conservatives who care about facts. They're good conservatives who would definitely care about grooming in schools and teachers secretly transing kids. I mean, this is really their biggest focus, right? Is what's actually going on in the real world. They would absolutely care about all this stuff, except they don't care about all this stuff because all they care about is elevating unhinged lunacy on Twitter. And the smear campaign isn't even new. The person who spread the smear campaign, that is actual defamation, by the way. I consulted with like multiple lawyers on this. He doesn't have any money. So spending the money to sue him would be a pointless endeavor because he doesn't have any money. He doesn't have any money at all. Kino, let's get to yours. And actually, I want to bring this up because about a couple weeks ago, I wrote this article. He deserves to have his kids transitioned. This was about another good Christian, very good Christian, because they're always good Christians, aren't they? Who, again, was doing the same bullshit on Twitter because that's all they know how to do, never reports on any issues that matter. And I want to bring this up. Actually, that's the wrong super chat. This is the one I wanted. Because it's all fun and games until your son is wearing a dress with she, her pronouns. And that is exactly right. These people have all the information available to them that they could possibly want. They have it all because I've fucking given it to them. I'm not the only one, but I've given them a lot, and my community has given them a lot. And this is something we actually do every day and we take seriously. We have reverse engineered all of this. We can tell you how they're transing your kids. We can show you the curriculum. We can show you the teacher training. We are the only people on the internet who are infiltrating the trainings where they're teaching the teachers how to trans your kids. If you guys can find someone else, you let me know. But as of right now that I know of, we are quite literally the only people that are infiltrating these trainings, recording these trainings, showing you these trainings. And these are things that these good conservatives and good Christians could be doing. But no, they're shit posting on Twitter, spreading smear campaigns, lying about people. And I'm going to say it. People like that and people like Joe and people like every single person in Joe's audience who's buying into this bullshit deserved to have their kids transitioned in school, because maybe that is the only way that they will learn to readjust their priorities, stop worshiping at the feet of their heroes who aren't actually really doing any of the journalism that they need to know anyway, and focus on things that matter. Because it's all fun and games until your son is wearing a dress with she, her pronouns that the teacher at school has been teaching them for a really long time, and they hid it all from you because that's quite literally the school district policy to hide it from you. Kino says, on behalf of Florida men, we don't want Mike Harlow in this state. I don't think you have anything to worry about, Kino, because Mike Harlow is never going to raise the money that is required for him to move to Florida. It's never going to happen. He can hope and dream and wish upon a star, but the fact of the matter is he's been trying to crowdfund that for almost a year, and he's raised a grand total of $1,600. And that ain't even going to get him to New Jersey. And we all know that. So that's never happening. I don't think you need to worry. But I want to show you a little bit more. I want to show you a little bit more about the good person that Joe has seen fit to elevate. The absolutely hinged into reality person that he has seen fit to elevate. Now, we have talked about Tina before. Tina is a woke knitter who is obsessed with me. Quite literally, talks about me multiple times a day. Every single day. People might say, "Why don't you just ignore her, Carlin? Why don't you just ignore her?" Thing is, I do. I do. I don't talk about this person. I have in the past when she's caused enough fucking trouble to require me to talk about her. But usually I just ignore her because she is petty and small and trash and a garbage human being, and I don't like looking at her Twitter. But since Joe saw fit to elevate her today, since Joe thinks that this is absolutely the person that people need to hear from, and not any of the other things that we've already looked at, those are not important because I'm not James O'Keefe, so those are not important. This is what's important. Let's take a look down Tina's timeline. And we'll go to the replies so you can see the tweet. Oh, look! Jamie Mitchell from Gays Against Groomers, also someone who I've reported on extensively, by the way. If you don't know how unhinged Jamie Mitchell of Gays Against Groomers is, I've done like 5 or 6 articles on it with receipts of their private Telegram chats showing how unhinged Jamie is. But Jamie acts pretty unhinged in person. Jamie went on a 3-day Twitter bender spreading all the same smear campaigns, because this is all conservatives know how to do, is spread smear campaigns. So we got Jamie in there. She's having some fifis tonight. That was reported by this lunatic, or retweeted. Oh, look, Brooklyn, she's responding to you because this is literally all she does. So Brooklyn tweeted earlier, I'm fucking sick of it. Anyone with Carlin's name still in their mouths, go fuck themselves. You don't give a shit about fixing our country or the education system. If you did, your bitch ass would be moving differently. I said what I said. Fuck you. And this was retweeted by the unhinged lunatic stalker. Another low IQ person. 2 things can be true at the same time. Carlin is a predator, a narcissist, and a grifter. Exposing her doesn't mean we don't care. Well, you know, your actions actually tell us that you don't care, but you're an unhinged lunatic, so I don't actually expect you to care. If you go through this person's timeline, you will see that almost every single tweet is about me. That's me right there. There I am again. Oh wait, those are me again. Brooklyn's blocked her, which is why you can't see that. Oh wait, there I am again. Oh wait, oh yeah, all this stuff about me because she's obsessed with me and tweets about me every day. This isn't even a slow day for her. She literally does this every single day. Every single, oh, yup. Oh, there's me again. Oh, yup. Oh, yeah, there it is again. Oh, yeah. See that? That's a good probably 24 tweets about me on an average day. And that is who we need to be elevating on the conservative right. Isn't that right, conservatives? That's what we need to be focused on. Because when I've had this mob of unhinged retards after me for 2 years, obsessed with me quite literally every day of their life, and I'm still trying to focus on, wait for it, things that actually matter and original reporting that no one else on the internet is doing, where I am weeks, months, sometimes years ahead of where you are, showing you what's happening so that you can try to maybe come up with a plan to combat it so that they don't reverse engineer how to trans your kids starting at 3 years old. You know, you got a good head start on this one. Are we talking about this one at all? No, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the groomer middle school at all. No, what you want to talk about is spreading a smear campaign about my college boyfriend from 20 years ago that I haven't even spoken to in 5 years, who pled guilty to a crime he didn't commit because he was railroaded by the government and convinced he had to by his lawyers. That's what we want to talk about. We want to drag an innocent man who has already suffered enough through the mud again for your fucking entertainment. And you wonder why I don't go on the shows of the conservative influencers. And they have all the receipts, they have everything, and they don't care about the truth at all. They only care about the outrage addiction and the smear campaign. Kino says the conservative right has lost their balls. They're better off identifying as Dylan Mulvaney. Ain't it the truth? How much progress could we actually make if the conservative right cared more about being productive than they do about smear campaigns and doxing people and defamation? Yeah, this is an interesting question, considering that this particular smear campaign was spread by Mike Harlow, who is Brandon Strzok's best friend in the Walkaway campaign. Didn't Brandon Strzok do the same thing? Plead guilty to a crime that he later said he didn't do? Didn't Brandon Strzok plead guilty to a crime that he claims he didn't commit when he was railroaded by the government? And shouldn't Brandon Strzok in the Walkaway campaign, who spread this smear campaign about my college boyfriend in the first place, shouldn't they maybe, know better? But no, this is what conservatives focus on. Even when they have receipts, even when they have proof, even when they have evidence about where this bullshit is coming from, because it's coming from Carrie Smith and her unhinged cancel horde, and always effing has been from October of 2020, when all this started, by Carrie and her unhinged horde of woke lunatics, all documented with tens of thousands of words, over 1,000 screenshots right there, because conservatives care about facts, don't they? Don't they, Joe? He assured me they did on his channel the other night. I'm not so sure. Kino says, you ought to hire me as your writer. I'm on fire tonight. You really are, Kino. I do appreciate that. But no. Joe didn't care about any of the real stuff. He only cared about elevating the smear campaign because he's got his fifis in a bunch. Because he was basically shown up by a woman the other night. And then that woman did a follow-up stream saying, gee, guys, I don't really think that conservatives actually care about any of this, because I was just on this stream the other night, and wouldn't you know it, but the person on the stream told me that undercover journalists who are not James O'Keefe are the concession guy. And they're just all disposable. They're easily replaced. It doesn't matter if they broke the Pfizer story that James O'Keefe took credit for and that everyone seems to think was broken by James O'Keefe, but was not broken by James O'Keefe because it was broken by an undercover investigator. They don't matter. Those people don't matter. The only journalism that matters is done by James O'Keefe. That is what I was assured of, and it kind of made me think that maybe conservatives just aren't as serious about this as they might present. And then today, when I found out on a live stream that the good conservative lawyer, Good Logic, was using his Twitter to elevate the unhinged lunatic that has been stalking me and harassing me and my friends and my supporter for 2 years, that was considered worthy of his time. That is considered important. That is what his audience needs to know, because that is exactly what is important to these audiences, which is why they deserve to lose and why we should not even bother to help them at all. Let them lose. Let their kids be transed. Let their kids be taken away from them by the state when the state decides to pass laws that they don't know about because they're not paying attention, because they're not reading, that say that if you don't give your kid the sex change hormones, which many states are doing, the state can take your kids away. Because not all states are Texas. And not all states are Florida. So do people understand why I find myself in the position of, quite frankly, just not believing that content creators actually care about the issues that they claim to care about? That they're, and I have a hard time believing that Joe's audience, Good Logic's audience, which literally paid him money to dox my friend, literally have been spreading that smear campaign to the point where Joe himself started spreading it. Do you guys understand why I just don't think that these are productive people to interact with? Do you understand? Oh, TT, I promise you, Joe has not talked about any of the things I reported on. I promise you he has not. I promise you he has not talked about it in any depth. I would be knocked over shocked if Joe had given you any valuable information at all, because I don't think he knows any of the real information. He might know things that, like, we knew 2 years ago. We are so far ahead of you guys. It is not even funny how far ahead of you guys we are. But none of that matters because I'm not James O'Keefe. Have I made my point? Have I made my point? I hesitate to do what I was planning to do. Because I was thinking, see, I wasn't actually going to respond to Joe's stream about me. I wasn't going to respond to it. Because, well, guess what? You are very banned. Goodbye. I wasn't actually going to respond to the stream that Joe did all about me, because I was instead focusing on other things. I was going to let it go, because why would I waste any time on this asshole at all? Why would I give him the satisfaction of spending another minute on him when I could spend the time reading that New Yorker article that we talked about on the stream, when I could spend time actually educating people about the woke ideology I was supposed to be writing right now? And yet here we are. More of my time wasted. More of my energy wasted. Because jackass conservatives are more interested in spinning up an outrage mob than they are in doing anything productive. I wasn't going to respond to this, but fuck it, let's do it. I can't promise I'm going to watch the whole thing. Let's do it. And I'm not watching his chat. And I'm only going to watch his... Oh, there he is. Okay.
How there was definitely upside to each of them to having that be the scenario. Anyway, here's her stream.
He's getting off on this. He's probably...
Let's see what she learned. You know what? I will say this. I like the idea that people learn from my show. So I hope she did learn something from my show. I hope she learned something. I like the concept.
I did learn, Joe. I absolutely learned that you and your audience are not worth it in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for confirming my original suspicions. I absolutely did learn.
The people learning from my show. To me, I think it's weird that anyone ever learns anything from it. How does anyone glean? This is all entertainment. It's all entertainment. How does anyone glean anything here?
See, this is the thing. This is the difference between Joe and I. Is he views this as entertainment, which he's allowed to do. He's allowed. It's his channel, it's his brand, he can do whatever the F he wants. I don't actually view this as entertainment. I view this as education. I view this as my job being to teach people what I know so that they are in a better position to encounter this ideology in real life. So again, Joe and I just have different values.
Took something from this show. Good on you, Carl. I think I did it like a week or so ago. All right, we'll run her chat. Let's see what we got. You want people to understand the facts? Oh, this is really good. Oh, this is good. Come on, you couldn't really expect a lawyer to be an honest interlocutor, regardless. Keep up the good work out to be. He was fine. Lawgic is the only that will never care about things. Oh, so it doesn't sound like she's going to be that aggressive with me. Doesn't sound like she's going to be that aggressive with me. Where's the chat? Why don't I see the chat button here? Chat. Where? I don't even know why I don't see the chat on this. I never watch.
Because it wasn't, because he watched this so soon after I did the stream that the chat wasn't loaded yet. That's why. He watched it so soon after I finished the stream.
I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I am subscribed. We're not getting notifications about this. All right, here we go.
Kind of do a little bit of a debrief after impromptu going on Good Lawgic show last night, which I wasn't expecting.
Oh, I said that last night.
Really blunt. Basically, what happened is I was doing a premiere. So basically, Viva Robin D'Angelo, Viva Fry, whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Viva Robin.
No, I don't have a video for you to review. This is the video. This is the video, V. This is a woman who was on my show last night, who was there for like 3.5 hours. I saw her in the audience. I was talking about her fight with Viva. I sent her a link. She popped in, and it was very cordial for 3 hours. She was basically in a fight with Viva about taking sides with Project Veritas versus O'Keefe. So she's on PV side. He's definitely on O'Keefe's side.
Because
and I was just trying. And me, I'm really more torn about it. I don't know who's going to win this lawsuit. I can see I could see a scenario where either one of them will lose and still win in the court of public opinion, although it's more likely to happen for O'Keefe.
Robin DiAngelo, who we now call Viva Robin DiAngelo.
I think that's childish that she calls him Viva Robin DiAngelo. Because
Oh, really? You think that's childish, Joe? I think it's pretty fucking childish, and possibly a whole lot more, that you are elevating and promoting people who have been stalking and harassing me for 2 years for lulz on Twitter.
he's made statement that was an argument that was, I think it was childish. I'm like, why? I think one night of hearing her is enough for me. Well, there's going to be a lot more me talking than her tonight.
Because he is quite literally using exactly the same mentality as Robin DiAngelo does, which I've explained elsewhere, but I'm glad to explain again if people are confused.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
He basically like came at me on Twitter yesterday while I was like on a live stream, and
that was Viva came at him on Twitter.
That he basically got his
not me.
in a bunch, and I blocked him a long time ago, which apparently he didn't realize.
That's not a reflection on him. That's a reflection on you. That he didn't realize that you blocked him is not a reflection on him. It's a reflection on you.
Yes, because Viva is, remember guys, in the world of Joe, Viva is just so much more important, and I am just a little person. I don't matter. I don't matter. I don't matter. My work doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is hero worship, and Viva has a Rumble contract. And that's really all that matters. God.
Sorry.
Well, if you thought that was lovely, then hang on to your hats, bro, because I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. I just want to listen to him talk. I don't really care to listen to him.
It's you she's talking about.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Blocked, bitch.
There you go.
Blocked, bitch. This isn't even interesting what they're talking about here. I was going to tell me how to run my chat. Yeah, that's not going to go well for him.
Well, listening to you, other than, she has more subs than I have.
I do.
And I have more people watching this now than she had watched the entire thing. Just about 750.
Does that make you hard, Joe? Having and do you know what? I make more in super chats than you do in an average chat because my audience has more disposable income than your outrage addicted horde. So, not gonna, you might want to have the dick measuring contest, bro. But I'm willing to bet that I'm actually making more money from YouTube than you are, with my small little piddly audience that, has more disposable income by far than your audience. And by the way, Joe, YouTube isn't even my primary platform that I'm earning income off of. It is my secondary or tertiary platform after Substack and Locals. You figured a middle-aged lawyer would have better things to do. As for me, I have insomnia, and if it wasn't for Ikeda, he'd be nothing. Well, indeed. I mean, it is pretty impressive that he wasn't able to get more subscribers than me, being involved in all that LawTube stuff. I quite literally never go on anyone's shows, and I still have more subscribers than Joe. And he does all this LawTube stuff, and people like him so much that he can't even get more subscribers than little old me?
Hard time. So Blaze doesn't want to hire me. They couldn't pay me enough money to Blaze.
On several levels. It was illuminating because I don't want to adjust the playback speed. I don't like playing.
She's learning from you guys.
It solidified a lot of things that I already thought were true. You
illuminated her.
But
it was
I
all
wasn't
you.
100% of the way there with it.
It was all you.
And also just this. Yeah, Reagan was there. Reagan was there with me till 4 a.m. Last night was a great example of why you don't go on shows. It was clear as day. Because there's no point.
But
The people.
when you said there's no point, what? Because you couldn't convince me about.
No, Joe. No. Not because I couldn't convince you. You are immaterial. It is your retard-infested audience that is a waste of my time to spend a moment of my energy trying to appeal to. It's not about you, bro. It's about teaching people who actually want to learn. And it is very clear to me that your audience reflects the creator of the channel that lets them run amok, that just wants to make money off of them. Your audience does. Joe, let me explain something to you. My audience follows socialism. My audience does weekly deep dives into some of the most complex, confusing shit in the culture war. Your audience runs smear campaigns and doxes people on the internet for lulz, and apparently don't know how to read a basic calendar. So our audiences are not the same. They're not the same in any way. And it is a waste of my time to try to talk to your audience because most of them, not all of them, I'm sure there are. We know King Peter in the chat is a member of Joe's audience. King Peter's great. And I'm sure there are people in your audience who are smart enough to understand my content, but just not enough, Joe. Not remotely enough to make it worth my time. Because as I tried to explain to you, and you clearly did not understand, you and I have very different philosophies about YouTube. You want to appeal to everyone, regardless of who they are, because your only prerogative or priority is to make money. That's it. And nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to have that. My priority is teaching people what I know and doing deep dives into the most dystopian aspects of the culture war that you are not even aware of and probably won't be aware of for at least 2 years or until it's too late to do anything about it because you don't pay attention to the real things I do because I'm not James O'Keefe and you would rather run smear campaigns on the internet and support stalking. We have different values, Joe. I will always have a smaller audience than you do. And that's perfectly fine with me. Because my audience is about 8,000 times more intelligent than your audience can ever hope to be. My audience has a significantly higher median IQ than what your audience could ever dare dream of. And that is a function of the type of content that you and I are creating. You are allowed to create content that appeals to the dumbest, most toxic people on the internet. That is your prerogative. I am allowed to create content that you need to have, an IQ of at least around about 100 to be able to actually understand and follow along with. That is my prerogative. We have different values. We appeal to different people. It is much easier to appeal to retards on YouTube than it is to find the intelligent people who have a desire to spend 4 hours once a week doing deep dives into socialism. We have different values. We have different priorities. I know you don't know how to wrap your head around this, but there we are.
I don't understand because you couldn't.
I know you don't
me
understand.
because the only time,
No, baby. No.
When I pointed out that, hey, one moment you're saying these are facts, and other times you're saying these are opinions, and you're washing back and forth between them. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, he's so
You say
stupid.
like, I know this to be true, but I have no
Oh,
sources that I can share with
he's
you.
so
And then you're
stupid.
like, well, I can't believe people aren't trusting her. People aren't.
He's so he's
That's not going to
so
be compelling.
he's so stupid.
That's not going to be compelling. Indeed.
Oh yeah, you shined a flashlight on me. Oh yeah. Yeah. People who are in that audience.
And it wasn't like I was,
I missed a super chat. Thank you, Kino. I apologize. Speaking of disposable income, I give more in a month than most people do in alimony. When am I going to see the kids? Kino, I feel so bad. You're starting to spoil me. I feel so bad. But I appreciate you. I will buy you as many as several beers at Porkfest, Kino, and possibly something stronger.
really was being polite. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. And even now, I'm not trying to embarrass her. I'm curious, like, what she's going to, what her whole takeaway was from it. But this is not a matter of, like, I'm not sitting here, like, I'm not hosting this stream tonight with, like, a whole,
Joe, I didn't watch this stream earlier. When you legitimately aren't trying to dunk on someone, as I am absolutely going to make you my bitch on this stream, when you are not trying to do that, you just don't watch the stream publicly. The only reason to watch a stream publicly like this is to dunk on someone. That is the only reason. So don't spare me, bro. Spare me. If you didn't want to try to dunk on me for your audience, for lulz, because that is far more important to you than doing anything productive in this world, then you just wouldn't have watched the stream. It's really that simple, Joe. I wasn't going to watch this. I had already moved on to other things because I'm a fully functioning adult. You were still dwelling. Again, different values, different priorities, different focuses.
let's roast Carlin. Let's roast Carlin. That's not what this is about. It's a matter of, like, I want to know what she's saying about me in my chat, and yeah, people wanted to know what my take was on it. So this is a nice little.
Don't care about the truth. They don't care about facts.
Yeah, because it's not true. It's not true. No one loves blocking people.
I fucking love blocking people. I fucking love blocking people. I look for people to block every single day. I set traps for people specifically to block them. This is not even... My audience knows this. There is a whole effing blocking strategy to get the unhinged lunatic out of my audience so that they don't come in and disrupt shit when we are actually trying to learn and be productive. So no, I deeply love and enjoy blocking people. As soon as I log on to Twitter and I look at the tweets from overnight, I'm looking for people to block. As anytime some outrage addicted junkie comes into my chat, I do that shit right quick. We even blocked members of Joe's audience yesterday just because they rubbed me the wrong way as soon as they came into the chat. I have a sixth sense about who belongs in my audience and who does not belong in my audience. And it is very clear to me almost from the very beginning. I love every single block I make. And I will never apologize.
Said that she's been in campaigns like with people coming after her and it's not fun. Well, that's exactly what that is when she has to block people, that she's feeling that people are coming after her.
No.
I'm sure it's not fun.
I block people every single day of the week. Now, the campaigns are fun because you get to actually block more people. You get to, like, signal out more people. But I don't think a day has gone by in years that I've been on Twitter that I haven't been blocking people. My goal on Twitter right now is to have a block list that is longer than my follower list, and I'm still many away from that. I blocked about, I don't know, like I think I'm over 10,000 people blocked on Twitter now. I'm really, like, doubling down on it. But the campaigns are actually great because you get to block a lot of them at one time. Like sometimes only like onesies or twosies a day. Sometimes there'll be hundreds. I did a whole stream one night where I was just blocking I blocked like I think 2,000 conservatives. That was a really good effort. And I somehow got like 2,000 followers from that stream, which I don't really understand, but like, whatever.
I'm sure it's not fun, but it's just to me it sounds like a complete cope when someone says, "I'm much happier to do that so we can get
Every
our important
time
work done." Our important
I
work,
block
which, like,
someone, do a shot.
I'm happy to have no one listening to me, or practically no. And and that's not to knock the size of our audience. The size of your audience is not a reflection.
Joe, you don't even know the size of my audience because I have 10 times the views and subscribers on Substack that I have on here. Okay, maybe not subscribers. I have 10 times the views on Substack on any given day that I have on here. That's my actual audience. You're the one that cares about size, bro. You don't even know where my audience is. You don't even know what my primary platform is.
Reflection of your value to society, but it is if you're claiming that you're part of a movement, that you have work to get done. What does work to
I am absolutely not a part of a movement because there is no anti-woke movement. The anti-woke movement doesn't exist because of people like you. There used to be some sort of loosely organized movement. That movement, because of conservative infighting and bullshit and nonsense, has drastically fallen apart. And now, basically, what you have is a bunch of reply guys on Twitter. You have organizations that are raising millions of dollars to not really do anything. And then you have just like random people like me that are like, I don't buy into any of this bullshit. And I really just want to teach people what I know. And I'm lucky enough that my audience, my piddly little audience, sees fit to fund the work I'm doing because I'm entirely grassroots funded. Because I don't want to answer to any of your organizations because they're all trash. And I'm lucky enough to make enough across all my platforms where I get to do stuff like this full time. Except when jackasses like you prop up people who are engaging in smear campaigns that distract from everything. People like you waste the money of my audience because then I have to stop what I'm doing. I have to deal with this bullshit again. Same smear campaign's been going for 2 years. You guys aren't tired of it yet. Haven't come up with anything new. Haven't moved on with life. But no, constant distraction from the work I should be doing to serve my piddly little unimportant audience. You guys you're just the little people. Remember, you're the little people. You don't matter. Only influencers like Joe and Viva and James O'Keefe matter.
to get done even mean? And I don't understand what that means. What does that mean? We have work to get done. Because to me, that sounds like a movement. And a movement, by definition, requires
We, as in me and my audience, who are actually productive and do things in the real world. This is not a movement, Joe. This is a small group of people who actually give a fuck. That's what this is. This is a small group of people who work together who actually give a fuck. Kino says he looks like he can strip the chrome off of a trailer hitch. Nice freeze frame. I think that was the last one. I'm sorry, Kino. I missed it when I started it again. But yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of those freeze frames tonight. See, Joe could have actually like asked me these questions when I was on his show. Carlin, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to build? What's going on? What are you guys doing? Did he bother to do that? No.
size. So you cannot tell me that you're comfortable with the idea that you have to block a lot of people
I fucking
if you have
love it.
work to get done.
I
It just doesn't
fucking
make
love it.
sense to me.
It does make
Unless you
sense,
just,
Joe. This stream is going to take all fucking night. It does make sense, Joe, because when you have people shit posting constantly and harassing people and doxing people and generally behaving like unhinged lunatics and are not smart enough to understand the content anyway. Because remember, we're like 2 years ahead of where you guys are. And so if people can't get on board with that rather quickly, they just tend to not stick around. So it actually does make sense to keep out the unhinged riffraff who are just going to cause problems, who are just going to be disruptive because we don't have Joe, you want to know why my audience learns so much and knows so much more about what's going on in the world than your audience? Because we don't have bullshit and nonsense constantly distracting us from what we're trying to do in the chat. Why don't we have bullshit and nonsense in the chat? Because people damn well know I will block their ass the minute that they start to try it. That's why. So yeah, there is a reason that you block people and that you keep your numbers down to the people that actually matter.
That's your way of coping with the situation, which that would make sense to me. I apologize. When she saw me here as much,
If I wanted the biggest audience in the world, I promise you, what I would have done is I know exactly what I needed to do. I would have gone to the gym and I would have worked out and I would have lost at least 50 pounds because I am just way too fat to have a channel on YouTube. And then I would have gone out and gotten my very best push-up bra, and I would have gotten a whole closet of low-cut tops because you can't be a woman on YouTube unless you have a push-up bra and a lot of low-cut tops. And I would have talked in much simpler words. I would have said, you know who's the best? Trump is the best. I'm going to vote for Trump. Go Trump. Trump, everything you do is amazing, Trump. Trump, everything you do is awesome. AOC, you're awful, AOC. Go away, AOC. You're just so bad. I know exactly what I needed to do to rally as many of conservatives as I could possibly dream. Believe me, Joe, I know what I would need to do to grift. It's quite clear what conservatives respond to and what they don't respond to. Yes, exactly, Brucey. If I wanted to be an influencer, I would have to turn into Chrissy Mayer and drop my IQ by at least 50 points. And that's the same amount I have to drop my weight by because we like women can't, they have to be thin on the internet, okay? And it had to be thin and dumb on the internet and just say the scripted talking points. And that's how you build an audience. There might be a reason for that. I'm just saying.
she's very biased. Her and I really got into it with Eliza. My avatar is hard to forget. Your avatar is hard to forget. The whole Eliza thing, I don't know why she got so mad about the Eliza thing. I don't know what got her all upset about that.
Because you attacked and smeared a victim of human trafficking who was actually doing activism in the real world. You destroyed and smeared a real activist, someone who's actually trying to move the needle. That's what offends me about the Eliza Blue thing, Joe. It was disgusting what happened to Eliza Blue. It was unthinkable what happened to Eliza Blue. All for memes and lulz. And do you guys remember that they were going to do a whole documentary exposing Eliza, but it never came out because it turned out they plagiarized it? That was disgusting. But this tells you everything you need, because Eliza Blue doesn't matter, guys. Eliza doesn't matter. She is a little person. And she's not James O'Keefe, okay? He is the only one that matters. He is the only one. And Eliza Blue is just disposed. She is expendable. She's easily replaceable. They just need to find someone else with boobs, and that's it. That's all they really wanted her for in the first place, was the boobs. Don't care about receipts. They
But I
don't
never got
care
into that
about
story.
what's going on in the world. They quite literally only care about hero worship.
Literally, you got it backwards. You got it completely
I
100.
don't have
could
it
not get it more
backwards at
backward.
all. Not at all.
That was her preconception that she walked in with, and this is where
No.
she got it completely backward. That is not what
I actually didn't have that conception going into that stream, Joe. I left that stream with that conception. I didn't have it going in. My mistake. Like I said, I was high, and maybe I was a little bit stupid, maybe naive, tried something I gave a try 2 fucking years ago, and it didn't work then, and I thought, it's been a couple years. Why not try going on one of these shows? Nope. Still this actually worse now than it was 2 years ago, which is why I don't do shit like this.
It's not what I'm about. That's not what my audience is about. That's not what I
Really?
think that
Really, because your audience, as we speak, is doxing my friend and spreading a smear campaign when you have mountains of receipts that I have repeatedly provided for the entire public, for anyone to go and look at. You guys have access to all of these receipts, and you're still spending your time doxing my friends, spreading smear campaigns that have no basis in reality at all, because that is what you deem important. You don't think any of the receipts are important. You probably didn't even know they existed. But what was important to you, Joe, was elevating a woman that has been obsessively stalking me for 2 years, started right after she got out of the fucking mental institution. Literally.
people out there who engage in hero worship 100%. But that's exactly the opposite of the messaging that I give my audience. Is I say, like, even our heroes, we should be constantly retesting them. That's why I've told you should be arguing. You should feel comfortable arguing with me and telling me that you think I'm wrong.
Yep.
Because you're going to have individual opinions, and that if we see, and whether you're a Trump supporter or a DeSantis supporter, whoever it is, if you see them doing things that you dislike, you should be comfortable calling them out. And I've seen that most of you are, which is why when she's making this claim, this is an outright, it's a fallacy, which I don't know if it's because she's just so mindset that, hey, they're not.
He lacks so much self-awareness that he cannot even see himself. And it's not even just a lack of self-awareness. They really have no fucking idea what's going on. This, Joe, is why trying to appeal to your audience is a waste of my time. You guys have no idea what's going on, and worse than that, you have no intellectual curiosity to find out what's going on, and that is why you are completely oblivious to what is actually going on. Completely oblivious.
Not listening to me, so it must be they're engaging in hero worship. And I was, and she would respond to me likely, like, well, you were making the point, Joe, that if he says something and people are going to listen to that story. Yeah, that's not contradicting what I just said, though.
It
because
actually
people
completely
will earn a certain reputation, which will start.
And then you will ignore journalism from everyone else, to include the guy who broke the Pfizer story. Joe, you literally said on your stream that the only reason that anyone cared about the Pfizer story was because James O'Keefe was attached to it. And if it was just that undercover journalist on his own who was not James O'Keefe who broke the Pfizer story, no one would have cared. That's what you said, bro. No one made you say it.
will put them in a certain position of more credibility or less credibility. But that doesn't mean that they're just going to blindly listen to whatever they say the way she's implying here.
They
And if
actually
they are
do.
starting by, and everyone has to operate that way. We all operate based on our experiences of who it is that we can say we trust versus who we distrust. That's human nature. That's not right versus left. And she's trying
No,
to
Joe. The point is that you don't even look at real journalism that is not provided to you by your heroes. That is what hero worship means. You quite literally said, if the guy who broke the Pfizer story wasn't attached to James O'Keefe, no one would have cared. Why? I would have cared. I think the people in my audience would have cared. Why wouldn't you have cared? Why wouldn't the people in your audience have cared? How much journalism is being done every single day that none of you even bother to pay attention to because you're more interested in smear campaigns and doxing and outrage porn and bullshit and nonsense and chaos. There is so much going on that you are not even fucking aware of. Yes, so a video of a Pfizer employee admitting to shit is made blah, 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 was made more important through the magical powers of James O'Keefe. He said, oh, hang on. Well, the chat apparently is fixed, Gayla. He said he was the one who said his audience would blindly follow. We all heard it. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
make this all about this whole political thing. That's not how people on the left operate. What is that nonsense?
No, actually,
It just
true.
doesn't make any sense.
Because you don't know what you're
the only reason I
talking
was able
about.
to make it to the end of the last show was because I was killing Yahtzees the whole time. Very cathartic.
Uh-huh.
Good job in killing the Yahtzees.
And this cult of personality, very advanced.
It's not any
crap
more
they have.
cult of personality than anyone
They
else
only
has.
care about
Oh, I'll let crazy.
people repeating their talking points back to them.
Oh my god.
That's quite literally what you have to do to be successful with that audience. Yeah, Wyoming gal, you were there too. It did take me a while to get my PhD online. You want to know why? Because I was working full time. I was doing this thing called a career in the real world because I wanted to work while I was doing it because I liked working. And it didn't take me 10 years. It took me 7 years. I studied workplace bullying and narcissism for 10 years. So, again, his audience, not the brightest crayon in the box.
I don't think she took Carlin's side. She sent a super chat at the end telling Carlin she was wrong. The only way that you can be
successful in the conservative space is to quite literally repeat their talking points back to them.
And I don't know anything about her education or PhD or stuff like that and whatever. I seriously don't give people very much more respect because they have letters after their name. Whether those letters are JD, PhD, MD. It's like, okay, you have a little bit more experience in this area. I don't look at anything as gospel though.
That they are desperate to hear, and they don't care if you're telling the truth. They don't care if what you're saying is grounded in reality. It is true. It is true. Desperate. I've provided proof on this stream,
This is
Joe.
such a misconception.
It's not a misconception. Back to them. That's your behavior, bro. That's your behavior and the behavior of your audience, which has been shown to you on this stream.
This is just nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
This is someone who has no understanding of what anyone in my audience is like. And she's sitting.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I have a perfect understanding of what people in your audience are like. Because I've seen them tweeting about me for all fucking day. When I was actually doing work, when I was actually doing real things, when I was actually spending time with my community. I'm pretty sure, Joe, let me let you in on a little secret. Your audience is not that hard to understand because they're some of the dumbest people on the fucking internet. Not all of them. I'm sure there are some smart people. I know that King Peter of the chat is very smart. But most of your audience are, let's just say, not the brightest crayons in the box. It's okay to be a drab crayon. It's okay to be a brown crayon. But can we just be honest about what color crayon they are. I'm just saying.
You're thinking that now she's got it pegged and she has absolutely no idea what
I
you guys are.
absolutely have
They
it
will
pegged.
worship the ground you walk on. And if you do not tell them what they want to hear,
It's not even hard to have this. This
then
is like, guys,
they
this is
will
like psychology
you,
101.
they will defame you.
I would
they
hope that
will
all of my
do their
audience
level-
would
Yeah,
be
and by the way,
smart
V,
enough
great
to
point.
have,
And
to have them pegged.
why is it that conservatives are way more comfortable watching liberal shows than liberals are in watching conservative?
Oh, bro. Okay, I was just about to invite him over for Socialism Saturday and see if he can sit his ass down and watch it. I bet you he can't. I bet you Joe would not even be able to make it through one Socialism Saturday. We're so comfortable watching liberal shows. No, you're not. No, you're not. I show you that. We watch that stuff all the time. And do you know what I hear from people like your audience? Carla, I can't do it. I can't watch it. It's too hard. It's too boring. Why don't you? Thank you for doing it for me, Carlin. Thank you for watching things that I won't watch, Carlin. Like, please, you think you're comfortable watching liberal shows? You come over here sometime. I mean, I'm not going to allow you on the channel or anything because fuck that. But you can sit on YouTube and watch, like everyone's allowed to do that, even if I block you. And you try to sit through one of my streams, Joe, and you tell me how many members of your audience could actually make it through one of my normal streams.
Or leftists. I shouldn't say liberals. What I'm saying is hard MAGA people are far more comfortable watching something from the left than leftists are watching something from the right. Why would that?
Can I just, if you think that Joe's full of shit, can I just see like a round of laugh emojis in the chat, please? If you think, like, I'm not even gonna put my opinion. If you think that Joe's audience would sit through a happy hour or sit through a Socialism Saturday, or excuse me, strike that, reverse it. If you think that there's no way in this fucking universe that Joe's audience would sit through a happy hour or a Socialism Saturday, I want to see some laugh emojis in the chat, please. Thank you.
Happy. How do you explain that, Carlin?
best to destroy you. They won't look at evidence. They won't look at documents. They won't look at anything. It is a giant ass waste of time. It is a giant waste of time. I didn't really think much of the conversation was good at all, to be really honest. I mean, he was nice enough until he tried to get me to fight him at the end. Because you understand, Peter, that that's what he wanted. He was trying to get me to fight with him.
No.
Not realizing that I just didn't care enough to fight with him.
No. Like I said at the outset here, I was upset with the fact that she was trying to mischaracterize what I was saying as a way of taking some sort of virtuous moral high ground.
No, some of us
By
actually
basically
do
completely
believe in
mischaracterizing the point that I was
people and
making.
care about people, Joe. Joe doesn't care about
And
people.
that I was
That's
not
why
gonna
he
stand
thought
for,
it
'cause
was
that
a
was
So
exact
there are a
opposite of what
couple
we said
points
we
that
would
I
do
want
at
to
the
hit
outset.
on that were not surprising to me, but definitely things I reflected on afterwards.
Thank you, and she was. Appreciate
Carlos
that.
is going away. Goodbye, Carlos. And just so we're clear, guys. If I see any outrage bullshit in this chat, you will be exited out of here very, very swiftly.
But I don't like blocking people. I don't like
My
blocking
channel
people. No.
is not Joe's channel.
That's true.
That is very
That's true.
true.
Very
I don't
Thank
allow that
God
shit
for
here.
small
I allow
favors.
anything. And you can come in here and
Thank
tell me that
God
I
for
was an idiot and
small
I'm a liar and you can
favors.
take her side and you will not be banned. You can say whatever you want. You could say that I would.
And that's because, Joe, you are not trying to create an environment where you are teaching people complex shit. You are ranting on the internet, and that's fine. You're allowed to do it. You really are. A lot of people do it on YouTube very successfully. There's a fly on my microphone. But that's not what I'm doing, bro. As I tried to explain to you very clearly, we have different values.
Is disingenuous and a big fat lie. You can say whatever you want And that's totally fine with me. Which, by the way, only undercuts the point. It only undercuts the point that she's sitting here, that the whole thesis she has is that the righteous needs to engage in hero worship. Well, if she's the one who needs a chat to basically agree with her, and I'm
I
the
don't
one
need my
saying,
chat to agree with me.
if you disagree with me, God bless. Have at it. Totally fine.
Again, Joe, people disagree with me all the time. Unlike you, I have a variety of people across the entire political spectrum that spend time in my chat. I even have socialists on my channel who regularly spend time in my chat because I'm showing them socialist content that they aren't seeing anywhere else. I don't need people to agree with me. What I need is for people to not behave like unhinged retards. That is what I need. I need a chat that does not have shit posting. I need a chat where people act like adults. And if you want to you can do it somewhere else, but you can't do it here. And yeah, the existence of the socialists who regularly frequent my channel disproves everything that Joe is saying right now. But of course, that doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. Only fifis matter. You know, I was thinking about this the other night. Joe's going to probably say several times over that, like, I'm an echo chamber, right? This is an echo chamber. I'm in an echo chamber. He's saying that because he's projecting his own bullshit. Joe is the one in the echo chamber. Joe is the one that actually think that crazy people on the internet are normal and is something that we should all have to interact with. I do not believe that crazy people on the internet are normal. I do not believe that crazy people on the internet are something to be idolized. I don't think that crazy people on the internet are something to be catered to. How amazing that the crazy people on the internet can go to Joe's channel and act out whatever unhinged fantasy they want in his chat, and we can be left alone to actually do what we want to do.
So I don't understand. None of this makes any sense.
He's so stupid. He very
He's so
obviously
stupid.
tried to get me to fight with him.
Yeah.
He very obviously did.
Okay.
I don't know what you were watching if you couldn't see that. No, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to pontificate about it because I don't really care to.
All right, let's do it that way.
One thing that was striking to me was Joe really and truly not understanding
I'm
that
listening. You have my attention.
not everyone is out to get a massive audience at all costs.
I totally understand that, but please finish your point and then I'll respond.
Really and truly not understanding that. I mean, he accused me several times of, like, you care about the numbers. All you want is the numbers. You just want more. I'm like,
You do, because you have a
I don't
movement.
want numbers at all costs.
Because you have a mission.
What
Maybe
I
not at
want-
all costs. You see, even that is a qualifier. So you do want the numbers, just not at all.
No, Joe, this is not a movement. This is a group of people who actually cares about shit. Many of us consider each other to be friends, and we work on shit together to do the journalism that the influencers refuse to fucking do. This is not a movement. I would never say this is a fucking movement. I don't want it to be a movement. I want it to be a small group of people who are focused, who are committed, who understand why this is important, exposing what is going on. That is the purpose of this. That is the purpose of my entire fucking channel, is to download the information I have into my head to teach people who are smart enough and willing enough to learn, and then to utilize that information to go accomplish things in the real world.
costs. That I'm sure is true. That I think is true. I think that there are certain things she won't want to do to pump her numbers, and that I can respect, and that I think is true. But to say she doesn't care about the numbers is ridiculous.
I don't care about the numbers. I've barely looked at the numbers in
people
years.
to actually care about the issues.
Now,
What I want,
where I do care about the numbers is my Substack. I really care about the numbers on my Substack because my Substack is basically the main way right now that I'm teaching people, because it ain't my YouTube channel, Joe. It's my Substack. My Substack is how I get news out to parents that they wouldn't otherwise know about because you jackasses refuse to talk about it and refuse to report on it until years after the fact. My Substack are the ones right now that are providing me with the most income, provides me with way more income than YouTube does. That's where I care about the numbers. This is a sideshow. Twitter is a sideshow. Supplementary at best. I haven't looked at my YouTube analytics in probably like a year and a half, not with any depth, like glancing over it maybe just because it's like right in front of me when I'm trying to set up a stream, but I'm sorry to disappoint you, bro. Not everyone cares about the same things you do.
is for people to focus on things that matter. But I'm more than willing to never have numbers as long as I have an audience of people who actually care about things that matter. I don't want an audience that wants to engage in nonsense and bullshit. I don't want an audience addicted to outrage. I don't want an audience just...
I don't know. I got a shot on 2 channels today. Nice. Well done, Carlos. Well done. First ever super chat, by the way. Hi, Josh. Hey, Josh.
See, these people that come from his channel, I sniff them out instantly and I block them because I know exactly how they act in the chat, and it's so different than my actual audience does that it's so easy to like suss these guys out. Carlos was in my chat for about 3.5 seconds before I blocked his ass.
Well done, Carlos Ramirez. Sounds like a baseball player name. Carlos Ramirez.
Looking for the next gotcha. I don't want an audience that's
You
going
just
to spend hours...
And this is before she just did a gotcha on me on Twitter. Like this is I don't think this is being genuine. I don't think she's being genuine here.
a day smearing and defaming people for no good reason.
Joe's saying that because he has no idea what I actually spend most of my time on, because he spends so much time on bullshit and nonsense that he really thinks that me posting a tweet is the end all be all of what I do. Twitter isn't even my main platform, Joe. Not by a long shot.
Reason. I don't want an audience that is going to engage in hero worship and a cult of personality. I don't want an audience that is just desperate to be told the talking points that they want to hear. I don't want any of those things. I never have. And
you still want
this
an audience,
really and
though.
truly seems like a foreign concept to people. They really can't wrap their head around the fact...
You can't tell me that you're trying to get work done. And
when I very provably get work done, when I very provably, based on my public output, get work done, but I can't tell you I'm focused on getting work done, you don't even know what my work is, bro, because you are so interested in facts that you didn't even bother to look.
And that you're totally fine talking to like 50 people for like the rest of your life. I don't buy it.
I don't talk to 50 people. I talk to tens of thousands of people on any given day. Just not on YouTube, because YouTube is not where my primary audience is. If you can teach 1,000 people something, like really teach them something on any given day,
That's a pretty good fucking day. I teach 1,000 people on YouTube minimum. I teach tens of thousands of people on my Substack every single day.
I don't buy it.
Things that he doesn't even begin to
I
understand.
just don't believe it. And that you take
don't
pride
have-
in the fact that you have to block so many people. When you're sitting here complaining, saying that, I wouldn't even say complaining, but just expressing the point that being attacked is not fun. So if it's not fun and it did bother you, I'm sure.
And my audience learns so much that they can then go out and teach it. Because I've created an environment for them where they can learn. You have created an environment where they will dox people, they will smear people, they will act like unhinged morons for hours every single day. It's your prerogative, bro. I created an environment where I could train more people like me who know what I know and know how to pick this stuff apart and know how to teach people in their lives. And maybe if I do it really good, they'll be able to teach people in a way that those people will be able to teach people, because that is the only way we build a grassroots, I'll use the fucking word, movement to fighting back. Jenny's getting inky with it. Thank you. Conservatives are willing to listen to liberals that agree with them, at least to some degree. If you can't understand the lib, they disregard them as bad faith. Jenny, that's actually a really fair point. That is a really good distinction. I appreciate you making that. Yeah, I bet Sam could do his own Socialism Saturdays. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe we'll have Sam fill in sometime. Maybe I want to take a Saturday off. Maybe Sam can come and fill in based on what he learned from me. How many people have you taught to be able to teach this ideology to other people, Joe? I know I don't have 700 people watching the stream right now, but I do have 10,000 people who read my Substack today. It's almost as if he doesn't know as much as he thinks he knows.
Sure, it's not. Then having to block people is not being happy. She's a dishonest person and narcissist.
Being thrilled that there are people in the world that don't want the same things they want.
Right.
And I just don't understand this. Maybe this is a conservative thing because conservatives are so convinced that their way is the only right way and it's very black and white and they are truly incapable of creative thinking at all. But
it's not nice. Not
Joe,
nice.
Yes, I am the intellectually homeless ones, guys. I hate to break it to you, it's us. We are the intellectually homeless ones. We just aren't capable of complex thought. Just because we decipher socialism multiple times a week, that doesn't really mean anything. Joe talks about how everyone has to be like him on the internet, and he is the intellectual prowess of YouTube. Did you guys know that Joe is like the smartest person in LawTube? Okay. We are but peons, intellectual peons in the wake of his glory. Could not wrap his head around the fact that he and I have extremely different values.
Oh no. Okay, first and foremost, my values are probably very different from most people that you know. So that's definitely not true. My point was that you specifically, Carlin, you want an audience because you have work to get done.
I have the audience
That's why
I need,
think
Joe.
you specifically.
I have the
and
audience
I will admit
I
that I
need.
want an audience, not because I have work to get done, but because
I have the audience I need. Anything on top of the audience I already have is gravy. It's bonus. It's great if more people want to come around, if more people want to learn, if more people want to help out. More people want to do investigations. That's gravy, man. That's great. I would welcome them. But the reality is that I already have the audience that I need to be able to make the impact that I want to make, because I am teaching people to break down an ideology for their friends and their family and their community. I don't need 1 million people for that. I don't need 700 people watching me on a live stream for that. I do need a group of people who are focused and intelligent and listen and want to learn.
Because I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And yeah,
Ain't it the truth, American
I'd like
legend?
to grow
Ain't it
that
the truth?
audience. And yeah, there's definitely a financial incentive to it for sure. And I like, if I feel and if I can help people, that'd be great. That's awesome. But at the end of the day,
The financial incentive that I have to grow my audience right now is that I want to be able to reinvest to fly as many people out to these education conferences as I can to be able to cover what's going on and what's being taught. That's the incentive. If more people in the audience want to contribute to that by signing up for a membership, that's great, but it's going to get reinvested right back into working with members in my community who I have trained, who I have taught over the course of years to go to these events in person, to figure out what's going on, to be able to tell assholes like you years before it winds up in the public schools where all this is going, so that you know what to do in order to protect your kids. That is why I am interested in growing my audience. That's the only reason. And guess what, Joe? All of those proceeds are getting reinvested. And if people don't want to support that, then they don't have to. We don't have to do it, but I think that they will. We'll see, I guess.
my first priority is take care of all the people living under this roof here. That's my first priority. Take care of all of them. Once I know that's secure, at that point, you know. But even with that, there's certain things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sit here pretending that something is not true just for the sake of promoting it, or because it's a friend of mine or stuff like that. Which that's what she seems to have taken from our conversation. Which I don't know how anyone takes that. See, I knew Wyoming. I knew you. I knew you thought she was totally wrong. I knew. I knew it because I remembered at the end.
Wyoming gal is getting blocked the next time I see her. I'm telling you that right now. Wyoming gal, I knew I hadn't seen her before, and she kind of came in and pretended not to be one of Joe's little bitches. But Wyoming gal, you're getting blocked as soon as I see you, because I don't need you being a fucking spy for this bullshit. Thank you for showing. I do appreciate you showing yourself, though. You're excused. We don't want you here anymore. Go away.
End of the thing,
We wouldn't want Wyoming gal doing something like actually getting into our like private communities. Like this is why we need to block people like this, guys, because like we actually even do more real shit in the private communities that you guys don't have access to. And we don't need any riffraff coming in there. Better just to show them the door as soon as we find them.
you were telling her that she was wrong and she wasn't getting it, and she's sitting there thinking, Joe, your show is great. Nick would roast her. James is the greatest of all time. And P.S. I'm Gen X and didn't know what NPC was. Thank you, Stacy. I understand my audience. I know that a lot of you got it. I know, but
I'm so brokenhearted that I won't be taken in by law
at least 20%.
I'm so brokenhearted. It is
this
just.
Woman, it does exactly what she accused of doing. It's either willful blindness or intellectual dishonesty. She's a narcissistic leader of a cult of sycophants. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why is it that
you guys are all a cult? Congratulations. This is why we call the show The Cult. You are all in a cult according to the people of the internet, and people on the internet are never wrong, as you know. They're never wrong. So congratulations, you are all in my cult. How does it feel? Try to bait me to make it seem as though I was placing myself as being superior to people.
She was.
When I don't think I am at all.
She was.
What I'm saying
even
is that
here, this whole chat, she's basically saying she's superior. When she's saying I'm happy to block people, that's saying I'm superior.
I am far superior to the vast majority of Joe's audience. The vast majority of my audience, I would even go so far as to say my entire audience, are all superior to Joe's audience. But you remember, you guys are in a cult. You're in a cult. You're all in a cult.
When she's sitting there calling my chat retards, that's saying she's superior.
We are so
When
superior.
she's sitting there saying that
It's not
she's
even-
so proud
it's
of
not
blocking
even funny.
everyone, that's
It's
saying
not
she's
even
superior.
funny how
When she's sitting there
superior we
saying
are.
like, "Oh, you don't
It's
respect
not
people,
even. I'm just gonna
you're talking
fucking own
down
it.
as if they're
You
like."
know what? You know what? These people want to call me a narcissist on the internet every day. We are superior to all of you, and it's not even close. We have a higher IQ, a higher median IQ than your audience, probably by like 50 fucking points, Joe. We know more about what is going on in the world than any of you dare dream. You might catch up to us in a couple of years if you work really hard and stop listening to your heroes all the time because they're lying to you as well. And maybe someday you actually look at a primary source document or two, which we spend all of our time looking at. We are so much better. We are so much smarter. We are so much farther ahead than any of you could dare fucking dream. I'm really glad that we've had this moment to establish how far superior, how far more intelligent, how far just overall better people my community is to yours.
They work in a concession stand. That's saying that she's a superior person in giving value to others better than I do. That everything she was doing was taking a whole superiority position. Every single thing she was doing. And that's why she was getting me upset, because that wasn't even about trying to prove a point or anything.
And when they
other than just trying to be
exactly, Sam. And when they eventually catch up to where we are and they finally understand what's actually going on in the world, we're going to be light years ahead of you. We will already be on the next fucking thing when you guys even don't even know what the current thing is yet.
Basically falsely take a moral high ground.
That I care fundamentally about different things than you care about. You're allowed to care about whatever you want, but
I'm not surprised.
You caring
I'm not
about
surprised.
something does not obligate me to care about that thing.
Of course it doesn't.
Caring about something
Oh my
does
God.
not obligate you to care about that thing. But at some point, you need to just acknowledge that you have different values. You care about different things. You see the world in a different way. I will not engage in a cult of personality hero worship
Yes.
over people
Yes.
on the internet.
This is
Do I seem like I'm angry in that video? Because it seems as though a lot of Joe's unhinged retards are insinuating that now I am angry now. Like, make no mistake. I think I've been pretty clear that I have no more sympathy for these people. But I'm pretty sure I wasn't actually angry in that video. But these guys want a narcissist, so I will show you exactly what a narcissist looks like.
a great
Why
dash.
not?
I think she's frustrated I think she's very frustrated that she doesn't connect with people better. I think she alienates people.
You think I want to connect with your people better? You think I want to connect with those people better? For everyone in Joe's audience that honestly thinks that he is the greatest thing since sliced bread, please stay the fuck away. I honestly mean this. Stay away. Maybe someday you'll come around and you'll want to know what's actually going on in the world and you want to, adjust your behavior and start acting like an adult. Then you will be welcome. But until then, I have no desire to connect with you because I am far superior to you. And my audience, I'm going to bet, would say the same thing because they are all far superior to you. We are not on your level at all. You do not belong here. We do not want to connect with you. We don't want to talk to you. We don't want to dumb down what we're doing to deal with your unhinged lunacy. So you can please stay away. Have I been clear enough that I have no desire to connect with that particular audience at all? If for no other reason, then I have no desire to associate myself with people who think smearing and doxing people is a fucking game. Goddamn right, I'm morally fucking superior.
And she gets frustrated with the fact that she alienates people. I don't think she's trying to alienate people, but she is alienating because there is a certain
I am absolutely trying to alienate people. I am 100% trying to alienate
maybe she doesn't even realize it when she's talking down.
I
Maybe she didn't realize it when she was saying to me that she was talking down to me.
I 100% realize when I'm talking down to people.
But there was that entire thing when she was saying, like, oh, you're not valuing
people.
You know, like, I value them,
Please
you know,
stay
and you're
the
calling them
fuck
concession
away.
stand people. That she was that was a
away.
way of trying to talk down to me. And you believe the smartest person in the room more often than not, it's because your loved ones humor your disability. You're a smart man, IWD.
Yeah. Well, I don't think
what they
that's
consider
true,
smart.
Wyoming gal. And if you feel that way, it's probably because you cannot wrap your head around the fact that people
I should have
have
known.
different
I
values
fucking
than
should have known
you,
about Wyoming
Oh my
gal.
God.
I
and you should
fucking
really
should have
work
known.
on that.
I
Oh my
really should have
God.
known.
Look
I
at that. She's
really
talking
should have
down.
fucking known.
Listen how she's talking down to Wyoming. Oh my
Goddamn
gosh.
right. Goddamn right I'm
Wow.
talking down to her. Because want to know why, Joe? You want to know why? Because if you can't handle me, you sure as shit can't handle the left. If you can't handle me and my tone, I promise you, you will be no use to me at all when it actually comes to dealing with the left and their bullshit. So, if Wyoming gal wants to have some feelings and cry on the internet, she's more than welcome to do it. But she's never going to be successful in doing anything that's going to be productive against the left.
This is why no one's watching. This is why.
I have 10,000 people a day reading my Substack. Just as a reminder. I have more people reading my Substack than Joe has watching on an average stream. Some days more than that. I mean, I'm anywhere between 10 and 20,000 people a day now, which is actually pretty fucking rad.
Why? There's no reason she gets so defensive about this stuff.
I will never ever agree. So one of the things he did last night was, it is very, very clear to me that the conservative right doesn't care about real investigative journalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
This has been clear to me for a while.
Obviously.
I've talked about this.
Very clear. Very clear.
They don't care about exposing things.
Very clear.
They don't care about exposing corruption. They don't care.
You can tell he's about to have some feelings about this. Oh, sorry, Magpie. Yep, well, we're going late tonight, apparently. Janie's getting yanky with it. Thank you. He doesn't realize that it's two different conversations using the same language with different meanings and understanding. He couldn't handle alt-left. He'd agree to almost anything they said. I'm not sure I understand that. He couldn't handle alt-left. He'd agree to almost anything they said. Can you tell me more, Jenny? You don't have to send in a super chat. I'll watch the chat for it, but can you tell me more about what you mean by that? I just want to make sure I understand. Thank you.
Care about exposing grooming in schools. They don't care about reverse engineering how the left has done what they've done in order to figure out a way to combat it. They don't care about any of these things. They really, really don't. What the right cares about is hero worship.
Yes, exactly what you're saying, Marcel. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah. It's like just
yes, I am a pigeon playing a game of chess. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. So
walking all over that chessboard.
Oblivious. He is
That's
so
what I feel like I'm watching
oblivious.
And has no clue that
So
she didn't understand me. She didn't understand my chat. She understood
I
nothing.
understand you guys perfectly.
She called the stream what I learned, and so far I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything what she learned. In fact,
He's
I'm
so
curious to see what
stupid.
she is alleging she learned, because
He
supposedly
is so stupid. Oh my God. How is he a lawyer? Jenny's getting inky with it. He couldn't talk to alt left because they would manipulate the language. Oh, I understand. Because, okay, yeah, you're right about this. Because him and his audience wouldn't even be able to understand what the socialists are saying. They wouldn't even be able to wrap their heads around what the socialists are saying at any given time. Now, to be fair, what the socialists are saying is really confusing, and you have to learn how to speak their language, and you have to learn how to speak socialist. But these people, they don't have the patience or the intelligence to do it. I'm sorry.
she knew all this beforehand. So I'm curious if she took something from the show. What did you take?
One of the things that Joe said last night is that the Pfizer story would not have been important unless James O'Keefe was attached to it.
It would not have had the social significance.
Holy
because
shit.
no one would have heard it.
No one, what did he just say? No one would have heard the Pfizer story except for the fact that that James O'Keefe was attached to it. Let's think about what that means. He just doubled down on that. What that means is that Joe and his audience are perfectly willing to ignore independent journalists, to ignore people who do the work required to embed themselves to get the Pfizer story, which they herald as like one of the most important stories of like all time, right? But they would ignore it if it was just the journalist who actually broke it. But because James O'Keefe is attached, that is the only reason they pay attention to it. Can we just all acknowledge that that's really fucked up? That is a fucked up mentality. If you don't, this is what I actually mean by hero worship, Joe. If you don't involve James O'Keefe, then it's just not even important enough for our time at all. And this is why they have no idea what's going on in the world, because they ignore independent journalists every single day. Not just me. There are a metric ton of people doing this that they ignore all the time because they're not James O'Keefe.
No one would have known about it. That's reality. It just wouldn't have. It wouldn't have had nearly the same number of views. It wouldn't have had nearly the same impact. Maybe it would have happened to have gone viral. Maybe that happens sometimes. But when Project Veritas with O'Keefe's face on it is putting stuff out, it's got a much, much better chance of going viral. That's the reality of the world we're living in here. And why is that only on the left? Why the right wouldn't? Why is that only on the right? The left wouldn't have heard about it either. No one would have heard about it.
You think that the left heard about it? The left doesn't take Project Veritas seriously at all. The left doesn't believe Project Veritas. The left doesn't give Project Veritas the time of day because of James O'Keefe. Do you know who I have been able to get through to? I have been able to get through to disaffected lefties. I've been able to get countless people to leave the left because I'm not a toxic fucking figure. No, that's actually not true. You know what hurt me more? Do you guys know what the biggest hindrance has been to me in this entire 3 years? It was doing a fucking PragerU video. And the minute that PragerU took that video down, that was like one of the best things that's ever happened in terms of me actually being able to reach people on the left. Because when I was in a PragerU video, that was fucking toxic. No one would listen. No one would look at data. No one would look at evidence. As soon as PragerU disowned me because they're hypocrites that don't actually believe in individual freedom and freedom of religion at all, as soon as PragerU took that video down, it was a whole new ballgame. I have been able to reach more people on the left since that happened than I was able to that entire first year when my channel was growing like mad. I was getting like these millions of views and I was going viral on Twitter all the time. I've been able to get more people to leave the left since I disowned the right than anyone on the right can do on an average day. He really said that.
Oh my God.
Can we wrap our heads around that for a
Yeah,
second?
let's wrap our heads
That
around that.
the conservative right worships James O'Keefe on such a godlike level that James O'Keefe can be a massive narcissist that has ruined the careers of many undercover journalists. James O'Keefe can
Ruin their careers.
Yeah.
This is now. How did he ruin their careers? This is a new allegation. Whose careers did he ruin? She was basically saying that anytime someone
When you fire people because they get attention and you drive people away from the profession of undercover journalism, then you create less undercover journalists, Joe. The reason that we care that leaders are narcissists is because they destroy the people underneath them. If you are destroying the stable of independent journalists because you're treating them like shit, firing them for no good reason, making them so miserable that they leave the profession entirely, then you are taking a flamethrower to your entire stable of up and coming independent journalists and making them hate the idea of doing independent journalism. That creates less journalism. That creates less people who are willing to do that work, which, contrary to what you seem to believe, it is not an easy position to replace. It is not someone that someone just leaves and you can hire someone else that's just as good like the same day. That is not what it is. It takes a deeply committed person to want to do that type of journalism. There are not enough people in the world that want to do that sort of thing. So yeah, anytime James O'Keefe made someone miserable enough that they quit and walked away from this stuff entirely because they couldn't take it anymore, I take personal offense to that because in my view, we need every single person that we can possibly get, and I don't give a fuck if they're James O'Keefe or not. More independent journalists are better than less independent journalists. And when we're driving people away for no good reason other than to feed someone's ego, we all lose. You don't know that because you don't pay attention to independent journalism that happens that is not James O'Keefe.
praises James O'Keefe, that's somehow an affront to the reporter, which I don't understand that either. I don't understand that either. That's like the scout being mad that Scott Hatterberg is the one who gets the credit for getting the RBI rather than the scout who from working for the Oakland A's. It's like, do you not understand the difference between the scout and even Billy Beane? That Billy Beane's name is he's the one who's going to get the credit. He's the one everyone's going to know. He's the one who's feared.
That's a baseball manager, Joe. Do you think there is a slight difference in importance between a baseball manager and people doing undercover journalism that are exposing things that will actually impact the culture war if they are actually given visibility? There is a slight difference between those two. Now, you're allowed to like baseball, you're allowed to go to baseball games, you're allowed to be obsessed with this stuff, whatever, but I'm sorry, that undercover journalist at Project Veritas that you believe is no different than the Bud Light concession stand guy, that guy, the guy that actually exposed Pfizer, is more important and more valuable to me than Billy Beane is. And I don't care how many movies Billy Beane has had made about him. I don't care how many books he's had written about him. I don't care how many articles he's had written about him. I don't care if he's in the Baseball fucking Hall of Fame. That Project Veritas reporter that actually broke the Pfizer story and changed the course of history in the breaking of that Pfizer story, which was not James O'Keefe, is more important and more valuable to me and my purposes and what I want to see in the world than fucking Billy Beane. He wasn't removed. He resigned. He resigned the week. He resigned prior to the loss, like a week prior to the lawsuit.
Not you, the scout who gave Billy Beane the idea. Is this like lost on you? Because it's like this in every industry. I mean, supposedly she worked with so many corporations. This is like breaking news to you
Supposedly.
that the name of the scientist whose name is on the paper he's certainly not he or she is certainly not the only one who worked on it. But getting the name on the paper is a big deal. It's a massive deal. And in various industries, different names have earned a certain level of recognition.
Yes, in Joe's world, people who have the best branding, their name is at the top, and everyone else can go fuck themselves because they're no different than the concession guy. I mean, you guys want any more proof that conservatives are all about branding and image and not about substance? It literally is about presentation. He's like, but it's James O'Keefe. Even if he didn't do the journalism, even if he didn't break the story, it's James O'Keefe. That's the only reason we pay attention is the package, the packaging, the wrapping paper, the bows, the glitter, the sparkles. That's all that fucking matters. Not actually getting the story. Not actually doing the real fucking work. That doesn't matter at all. And that is why there are no conservative activists, except for like Scott Presley, who they have worked literally into the hospital. You want to know why there are no conservative activists? Because none of them can wrap their head around this idea that being an activist actually fucking requires work and is not just all about doing a good presentation and singing fucking Oklahoma.
Ignition, which all of a sudden they get taken, their ideas, their theories get taken a lot more seriously than other scientists who may be a lot smarter, a lot more talented, a lot more hardworking. That's the reality of the world that we're living in.
I'm really glad that Joe is promoting a reality of the world in which the smartest and best people are ignored so that the branded people that have their name in lights can get all the glory while the smartest and best people are actually ignored. I think that sounds like a great plan, Joe. Nothing could go wrong with that plan at all. Gala says, one of your cat people sending you money since we're such narcissists. You know how dog people are. Cats, God, I need to block all cat people on my channel. New rule. We now have 3 rules of the chat. Number 1, don't be a dick. Number 2, no whining. Number 3, no fucking cat people. Someone's going to take that seriously and clip it out of context, by the way. We'll see how long that takes.
In here. And she seems to just not, it's like, I don't like what reality is. And I think it's unfair. So I'm going to pretend that we don't live in that reality.
He did, didn't he,
I'm not
Myriad?
saying this is the way it should be. I'm simply saying this is the way it is.
He did make that argument, didn't he? Can basically be spent.
God damn these people. Jenny's getting inky with it. It's not about the journo getting his name publicized. It's about his work being accredited to someone else. Oh, Joe doesn't mind that. Joe doesn't mind that at all. Joe thinks that James O'Keefe is responsible for everything Project Veritas does, even though James O'Keefe hasn't done independent journalism in like, probably several years. John Morgan, I don't know if we can be friends anymore. I don't know, buddy. Oh, God, so many of you are cat people. Oh, God. Fine, you can stay. Fine.
All of the donations to Project Veritas, flying around with his girlfriend, and no one really cares that James O'Keefe can do whatever he wants in the world.
They wouldn't. Reality is they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care.
Joe just said that James O'Keefe can waste Project Veritas's money on expenditures that has nothing to do with Project Veritas, and no one would care. Definitely not the IRS, and definitely not the government that's going to audit them to check in on that 501c3 status. No one would care. No one would care if James O'Keefe was doing nothing but gallivanting around the world with his girlfriend, not doing any fundraising, not doing any work. No one would care. Does that seem a little bit bizarre of a position to anyone else?
You tell me the left is so much better. Well, you know what? The left
They
doesn't
are.
care about anything Hunter Biden does. All these different...
You're absolutely right, Joe. The left doesn't care about anything Hunter Biden does. And do you know why the left doesn't care about anything that Hunter Biden does? Because while you guys are dicking around with a laptop, the left was taking over the fucking schools and every major institution in society. And now all they're worrying about doing is solidifying their policies in public schools, the policies that you don't even know about because you don't bother to fucking read them.
They are now working on solidifying their policies in the schools, so they own the young. They own your kids. They don't need to have kids of their own. They're taking yours. And while they're doing that, you are distracted, thinking that Hunter Biden's laptop is going to be like the end all be all of everything. It's going to be absolutely nothing. Nothing is going to come from Hunter Biden's laptop. And they know that, which is why they don't care, which is why they don't talk about it, because they're focused on the fucking schools.
Stains that Biden has, all the different stains that Nancy Pelosi has, and they still hail Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
They still hail her.
Right. Because unlike the right, the left doesn't get distracted by nonsense. Not the true believers, the useful idiots, the useful idiots sometimes, sure. But not the true believers, Joe. The true believers don't care about any of this. Well, that's kind of bullshit, but, you know, I'm sure he doesn't really care.
Hail her as being some sort of like, leading figure for the left. And then she'll sit there saying, you don't know who the left reveres. Well, you know what?
I don't know who the left
people
reveres.
On the left you've been hanging out with. I know the ones I know the ones that rake in the money is AOC. And they revere her no matter how stupid how many.
The left actually hates AOC because they think that AOC is too corporate. The left does not like AOC. Thinking that the actual left likes AOC is Jesus fucking Christ. I swear to fucking God. There are no words.
How many stupid things she utters. They don't care about her stains, how she talks down to black people over and over again.
You're right, they don't.
You're sitting here pretending that this is something
because they know that's a distraction.
That is plaguing the right rather than that's just the nature of how humans react.
AOC is a distraction. AOC is not relevant to what the left is working on. AOC is not relevant to what the left is focused on. Every once in a while, AOC might do a speech, but mostly they ignore it because you know what they're doing? They're training with their activists. They're training with their leaders, their fucking socialist fucking leaders, and their little local community groups. That's what they're actually focused on, Joe. They don't give a fuck about AOC. They don't give a fuck about Nancy Pelosi. They don't give a fuck about Hunter Biden. They hate Joe Biden. Why don't you know any of this? You're so much more plugged into the left than I am. Why don't you know any of this? Every leftist I've ever spoken to hates AOC. Only young people, the useful idiots, like AOC. Yeah, I'm on the left, sure. He still thinks the left is Democrats and not socialists. Exactly. They are so fucking dumb. They are so dumb.
To things.
And the only thing that matters is that investigative journalism has to come attached to James O'Keefe. And if James O'Keefe, no matter who he is as a person, no matter what he's done, because James O'Keefe has said the magic words.
It's like, is she living? What fantasy world is she living in here? Does she not recognize that if I break a story or Ben Shapiro breaks a story, that it's not the same thing? Or if I break a story, Matt Walsh breaks a story, it's not going to be the same thing.
Oh, I absolutely recognize that. And the reason that it's not going to be the same thing is that none of you are focused on things that actually matter. Joe, I recognized a long time ago, bro, that you guys were absolutely worthless in terms of like reporting on things that actually matter. Project Veritas is one of the only reliable groups that the conservative right has that actually report on things that matter and that actually bring receipts.
And that's because they've attained a certain status and recognition.
That's exactly
and it works
right,
the same thing. If AOC says something, it's far more impactful than if Anna Kasparin says it. And if Anna Kasparin says it, it's far more impactful than if Karlin Borsenko says it.
Actually, the left doesn't like Anna Kasparian either, but like, way to go, Joe. Though, yeah, I mean, he is correct that she absolutely has more reach than me. She also has way more like stupid people in her audience than me. God damn it, these people are so dumb. They really think they're playing chess, guys. Joe and his audience think they're like chess grandmasters. Now, I'm not like the best chess player in the world, but I I I would bet you like a lot of money that I am probably a better chess player than like anyone in Joe's audience.
That's just reality of the world. This is so stupid.
You're right, Joe. This is so
They
stupid.
will not pay
This
attention
is so
to investigative
stupid.
journalism unless James O'Keefe is attached to
No,
it.
it's not James O'Keefe specifically, but he's one of a few people.
Can we really think about that for a second? Because as I reminded Joe several
This is
times
such a
last night,
disingenuous claim. This is
It's
such
not
a
disingenuous at all. You've
mischaracterization.
agreed with it. You've agreed with it several times over, bro.
James O'Keefe did not get the Pfizer story.
They're playing checkers on a
And
good
Joe
day.
literally
on a
said
good
that
fucking
no
day.
one would have cared about the Pfizer story if James O'Keefe hadn't been involved.
Relative to the numbers that did care about it, the numbers would have been much smaller.
So you're saying that conservatives really wouldn't have cared about the Pfizer story, Joe? They just cared about worshiping their hero, James O'Keefe. That's what we're saying. Conservatives wouldn't have actually cared about the Pfizer story because of the content of the Pfizer story. They only cared about the Pfizer story because it was tangentially attached to James O'Keefe. It kind of seems, Joe, like you're admirably proving my point that you are more interested in the packaging than you are in the substance of what's going on. Because if you're honestly insinuating that conservatives would not have cared about the Pfizer story, that means that you don't care about the Pfizer story. What you care about is how the Pfizer story is packaged and the color bow that is on top of the Pfizer story. Now, call me crazy. I know I'm a woman and I should probably care more about such things, but I don't give a flying fuck what the color of the bow is. I want to know what the actual story is, and I want to know what the receipts are. Again, we have different values. Yeah, they're playing fucking Chutes and Ladders. Exactly.
And does she really think that's not true?
No, I think it
She
is
saw a
true.
struggle session
I
last
think
night
it's
with all tactics
absolutely
and
true.
tells. God bless
That's
you,
why
Julia.
you guys are
Ethics, honor,
worthless in the
intellectual
form
integrity.
of
Thank you
my
so much. I appreciate
my
it. Joe, it's
fucking
Cope. She doesn't want to hear
trajectory.
that the reach of story affects the value because her reach is tiny. That would mean her work has less value. That's probably true.
I have more people who read my Substack on an average day than Joe has who watches his YouTube channel on an average day. And I only have like 13,000 people subscribed to my Substack, and Joe has over 90,000 people subscribed to his YouTube. And so what does it say that my average reach daily on my Substack is more at 13,000 subscribers on my Substack than Joe's is on his 90,000 subscriber YouTube channel? It does help to know what we're talking about, doesn't it? And what people are actually doing for platforms, and not just assuming that a YouTube channel, just because it has the checkity check, means much of anything in the grand scheme of things.
I was throwing that in her face last night. I was like, here's the reality. If you're working on an island by yourself and no one's reading it, who cares?
I have people reading it.
Is it? She's the tree that's falling apart.
I have people reading it. Do you know who I have reading it, Joe? I have parents of kids in school. I have people all over the political spectrum. I have people on left, right, center. I even have far leftists reading my stuff. You guys are the ones in the echo chamber. You guys are the ones that are completely disconnected from average fucking people because you spend all your day in an internet outrage horde with people like Grifty. Do you guys really think that Grifty is going to be the one to save the world? I don't think that a person that has the internet handle Grifty is going to do much of anything at all. I strongly doubt that Grifty would ever bother to look up a book list of the books that the kids are being given in school that teach them about trans and non-binary things at kindergarten. I strongly doubt that Grifty would be really all that interested in infiltrating a teacher training conference just to get a hold of what is going on before it even gets into the schools. I strongly doubt that Grifty would be inclined to join us for a school investigation stream. I strongly doubt that Grifty would be able to sit down and read a curriculum. I absolutely doubt that Grifty would be able to decipher socialism on a 4-hour stream on a Saturday night just for fun. But Joe's audience will save us all. Remember, Joe's audience will save us all.
All right, so no one's around to hear her. I noticed this from when she feud with Adam Krigler. She's obsessed with credentialism, doesn't handle it well when creators and audiences don't care about degrees.
Adam Krigler set me up to be attacked by white identitarians, real white identitarians, for like several fucking hours. I have no love lost for Adam Krigler, who is currently, to the best of my understanding, not really doing a whole heck of a lot in the issues that I care about. Shocking.
Oh, that could be part of. Look at her eyes, glossy, unfocused, wide and dead, devoid of emotion and empathy, cold and unintelligent. If you see people with those brainwashed eyes, just don't engage with their programming, Joe. No, I don't have a. I mean, you're making a fair point, man. I mean, I don't have a problem, and I'm not upset. And by the way, I'm not angry with her. I'm not upset with her, and I certainly don't want anyone to dox her or harm her or anything.
Oh,
like
well,
that. I mean,
that's too late, Joe, because you took money from people who literally used a Grifty, in fact, used a super chat to dox my college boyfriend. Oh, he doesn't support doxing. He'll just take money from people who are using it to dox my college boyfriend for kicks, for lulls, because that's what they fucking care about.
She's entitled to her opinion, but I'm going to basically expose why I think that her opinions are hot garbage.
Oh, we can play this game, honey.
I'm not sure if she belongs more on Young Turks or an Ayn Rand novel as the villain.
We can play this game. That's true. Can we talk about how insane that is?
Oh my gosh.
You're telling me that the conservative right had all of their suspicions confirmed by this one story that was broken by this one investigative journalist that was not James O'Keefe. And the only reason that conservatives would care about it is because of James O'Keefe. That is insane.
That's not what I said.
That is what you said. That is quite literally what you said. That is quite literally what you said. Truly and sincerely insane. There are so many people out there, not just Project Veritas,
Adam,
not just me, not just, a lot of the activists. He literally retweeted a person that's been stalking me for years.
I don't think, to be fair, I don't think that she's going to sit here bashing me specifically as being a terrible person. If she was going to be really hostile against me.
No. We saved that for tonight, didn't we, Joe? We saved that for tonight after your audience has been doxing my friends, spreading smear campaigns, and after you retweeted someone who has been stalking me as an unhinged fucking lunatic for 2 fucking years. That's what we saved for tonight, buddy. I hope your balls don't shrink too much as you're watching this.
She would have come out swinging a lot harder than she has. So I don't think that this is I saw the title of her stream was What I Really Learned on Good Lawgic Show. So, I mean, that's come out and play. Can anyone, isn't it? It's not?
See, he was actually expecting that my pontifications were going to be about him rather than about the conservative right. and about things that were relevant to things that we care about. That was what he was expecting. And that's why he's so surprised.
Lady Logic's laughing. That's come out in play. I mean, right there. But, you know, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I don't expect to mention her name anytime in the next month.
Please don't. Please stay the fuck away.
Corner and we're just like,
please don't.
But yeah, one
your
response
audience
from
too.
each side I think is okay.
Please stay the fuck away.
Look at Stormy Trump. A lot of media exists to just capture embarrassing stories and delete them. That would have happened without okay. Yep. People would have said, "Who is this person?" Here. You know what? Think back. Okay, during the COVID lockdowns, when there's all this talk about this eye stuff that some people were saying, and I'm not saying that it was any good, but some people were saying we're presenting alternatives. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any medical advice here. But no one had heard of the doctors who present these alternatives. You didn't know them. There was no reason to trust them more than to trust Fauci, unless someone already distrusted Fauci. And I'm certainly not giving medical advice here because I know nothing about medicine. And you shouldn't be taking medical advice from anyone on the internet. But when you consider the level of reach and impact that someone has, there's a difference on whether it's given by Dr. Fauci.
Some people actually took the time to research those doctors, and some people just took what Fauci said at point blank. And I'm going to bet that the people who took the time to research doctors may have fared well a little bit better than guys who just took Fauci point blank. And that's actually the point, Joe, is just because you know someone's name doesn't mean you only listen to that person and you ignore everyone else. God, I'm losing my voice.
Or Dr. Billingsley, who no one heard of. There's a difference. It's a reality. We live in that. Joe, it's simple and she's delusional. These investigative journalists are anonymous. If anyone knew the names, they couldn't do any more stings. O'Keefe started doing this 20 years ago. He's known and he's trusted.
These people are so stupid, they don't even understand the point I'm making.
100%.
They literally don't even understand the point I'm making. That I feature on this channel. It is like not just a lot of the work that I cover in my Substack. There are so many people out there doing investigative journalism that gets no attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not attached to the heroes of the conservative right. And it's actually the only thing that matters. And it really solidified for me last night why the right doesn't even
now
know
we're getting it.
half of the things that are going on.
Now we're getting
because
it.
It doesn't have James O'Keefe's name on it. Do you know how insane that is?
No, because you know what? The way James O'Keefe got his name is because he broke one story and then another story and then another story. That's how you earn a name. You know what? Here's a great...
Your kids are going to get transed in school, and it will be your own fucking fault. Your kids are going to get transed in school without you knowing, without you having any idea. They're already doing a lot of this, Joe. You live in New York. You live in a state where they are literally going to pass a law that says that they can take your kids away if you don't give them the cross-sex hormones that they want. Your kids are going to get transed in school. You will have no idea what's happening, and it will be entirely your fucking fault because you don't listen to the people who are telling you what is happening, what to look for, how to prevent it, how to fend it off before it even comes into your school district in the first place, because you are too fucking enamored with James O. fucking Keefe. Like I keep saying, guys, these people need to have their kids transed by the schools without telling them, which isn't an out of the realm possibility of happening in New York. It happens in New York all the fucking time. Most of the school districts in New York have policies that say the school does not have to tell the parents the name and pronouns that their kids are using. This is not a theoretical conversation. There is literally a family that is suing a Long Island school for transing their 5th grade daughter for months. for months before the family ever found out about it, was using different name and different pronouns with the daughter, to the point where the daughter ended up in the school psychologist's office having suicidal thoughts. And that is how the family found out that the school district was transing their 5th grade daughter. You deserve to have your kids transed in schools because you do not pay attention to what is going on, even when there are countless people trying to tell you what is going on, trying to wave the red fucking flag of what is going on, trying to show you explicitly how they're fucking doing it. And you treat it like a joke. You compare it to this concession stand guy. You say, you know what? Who's more important than this? A baseball fucking manager. Do you want to know why these people piss me off? I think I've made that clear. Does he even realize that for James O'Keefe to have had to listen to someone they didn't know? I don't think they do realize that. I don't think they do. You want to know why the conservative right doesn't have any other activists other than Scott Pressler? Because they treat their activists like dirt. They treat their activists like they are disposable. And so activists quit all the time. I cannot tell you, in the 3 years that I've been doing this, I cannot tell you how many times I have seen good activists who have exposed real things, quit, walk away, because it's too fucking hard, because the right doesn't listen, the right doesn't fucking pay attention. I am lucky that I managed to get inroads with like the libertarians and the disaffected left and the politically homeless. I am so fucking lucky that I don't rely on the conservative right to actually do the right thing for once in their goddamn lives and listen. Because the fact that I was able to make inroads into the politically homeless, into the disaffected left, into the libertarians, is the reason that I'm able to fund my work.
Great example of that. Andy No, spelled NGO, which, by the way, his name recognition is much smaller than James O'Keefe's, but he's broken a whole ton of stories, and he's someone who's fairly well known now.
And Andy No is an example of someone that thank God, the conservative right actually listens to. Andy No is a great journalist. Andy No does excellent work. One of the very few real journalists on the conservative right. Why is that, Joe? Why is Andy No one of the few? And by the way, Andy No probably wouldn't be as famous as he is if he hadn't gotten hit in the face with a milkshake. Andy No had to put himself in danger for years. Got hit in the face with a milkshake that had God knows what in it. The conservative right should thank their lucky stars that they listen to Andy No. How many Andy No's exist out there that you're not listening to? That's right, a concrete milkshake. That's right. How many Andy No's exist out there that are exposing things that are just as important as Andy No, and you are not listening and making fun of them and mocking them as though it's a sideshow prank and doxing their friends and smearing them all over the internet to the point where they just give up and they quit? Do you guys really think? And this is a great point, Rottweiler. Half of the right dismisses Andy No because he's fucking gay. So they really should be thanking their lucky stars that he sticks with it, because half of them shit on him because he's gay. Do you know how many more Andy No's you could have if you guys actually removed your heads from your asses and started listening? Andy No copped brain damage for his work. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And God bless him, and I really mean that. Does anyone see the irony in Carlin being connected to Project Veritas, yet people that have zero connections to Project Veritas think her opinion is not valid? But they're the logical ones. They're the rational ones. They're the ones who know everything. They always look at evidence. Sure.
Now, although not nearly as well known as James O'Keefe, and a fairly well trusted source among the right.
How many other Andy
You know,
Knows
he
do you
did the
have?
legwork.
How
and he
many other
went
Andy
down
Knows do you
and
have?
covered
How
and-
many
and-
other
and
James
did
O'Keefes do you
reporting
have?
and
How
exposed
many
a
do
lot
you
of
have?
the
Because the
craziness
left
from the
has
left,
a lot
and
of
he
them.
started
How
getting
many do
more and more
you have,
recognition. The more you
Joe?
do it, and the bigger the stories
How
you break,
many do you
the more your
have?
recognition grows.
How many do
and then
you have?
if some other
How
reporter
many do you? He's not getting answer.
2
I mean, he's
years from
not,
now,
he's
as his
obviously
name
can't hear.
continues to
Listen to
grow,
me,
let's
but
assume it continues to grow on a steady incline. 2 years from now,
God, these people, I know I keep pausing and I probably should just let it play because I'm going to be here all fucking night, but these people really have no fucking idea that the reason that there are not more Scott Presslers is because they destroy the upcoming Scott Presslers. The reason that there is not more Andy Knows is because these people fucking destroy the upcoming Andy Knows. So many people quit because it's too fucking hard. Because people don't fucking listen. I probably would have quit over a year ago had I not been able to expand my audience into the libertarians, the disaffected left, and the politically homeless. Because it was too fucking hard. These people drive people away who are trying to help them, and they are completely oblivious to the fact that they drive people away who are trying to fucking help them. This is why they deserve to fucking lose. Right-wingers have always pulled the ladder up behind them. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But I was like, Scott Pressler must be protected at all costs. Scott Pressler must be protected at all costs. Why do you only have one? You guys claim to control half the country. Why do you, the silent majority, why do you only have one Scott Pressler? The left has hundreds, maybe even thousands of Scott Presslers. That's reality. Why does the left have 1,000 Scott Presslers and you guys have one? Why does the left have 1,000 Andy Knows and you only have one? Why is that, do you think?
some other new investigative reporter comes along and breaks a story and is working together with Andy Ngo, it will have far more social significance than if it doesn't have Andy Ngo's name attached to it. That's just reality.
Oh, well, they talk about how badly I burn bridges
so
when
it
they
is
drive
in
people
every
away
industry,
all the
so it
fucking
is
time.
in everything. And it's like she's like pretending that this is unique to politics or to the right.
It is unique to the right.
It's a completely disingenuous claim that this is why the right's losing elections. What are you joking?
No, I'm not joking at all.
Welcome to humanity.
And the fact that you don't understand it is the fact that is the reason you will lose in 2024, and it will not even be fucking close.
Ginkgo Bilbo.
And you want to? Joe in that chat literally said that the actual undercover journalist who broke the Pfizer story, the actual one who got it, is no different. M169, I see you, M169. Consider yourself banned if I ever see you in my chat again. I'm going to remember this, I'll tell you that. That's not true. You want to know why that's not true? Because at the same time as the Coke Be Less White story, I also had the right start the first smear campaign they ever ran on me, which is still around the internet today, which is that clip out of context where they're making me look like a leftist talking about anti-racist math. That was the first time I fucking quit. That was the first time I quit. Was that. That was the first time the right drove me to walk away and say, fuck you. You are not worth it. You don't appreciate anything. You don't do anything. And it took me several fucking months before I came back and I started doing activism again. And it almost didn't happen. So no, M169, and you can consider yourself banned from my channel from here forward. Then a guy running a concession stand.
See, I knew she was gonna go
And
back
that
there.
James O'Keefe is the CEO. And the real journalist who got the Pfizer story, no different than the guy who runs the concession stand at the mall.
Actually, I was thinking of the guy for Bud Light. I was trying to come up with an analogy in Bud Light. That's where the whole thing came. Because I was talking about how people get mad at this person and it ends up filtering down to the person working the concession stand. So at one point we were talking about, at one point we were talking about Bud Light. And that's why I was thinking, because I was thinking about the video that someone had taken in Fenway Park.
Oh yeah.
Of,
They spread this math is racist thing every day. And you wonder why people don't want to help you. You smear them all over the internet, you absolute retards. This has been going on for 2.5 years that they've been spreading this out of context clip that they took of me. Can you imagine what that was like for me? Like I just want I want to go back. The Coke Be Less White story was a big fucking deal. The Coke Be Less White story actually had an impact. The Coke Be Less White story actually broke through. It was a really big deal for me. I was really excited about it. And then that was immediately followed up with the first conservative smear campaign that I ever experienced because I had stupid hair and they didn't like my weight. That was millions and millions and millions of people who hit me with that first smear campaign, and I stopped doing activism for months. I had at that time, I had an entire fucking diary of all of these things that I could have released about different companies, and I didn't even care enough to continue with it. Because I was so sick and so disgusted by what the conservative right did and how little they actually cared about what the truth was or any of what this was. They had no idea what to do with it because they didn't listen. By the way, the conservative right also completely fucked up the action on the Be Less White story because they made it all about memes. It was just about memes, guys. It was just about memes. But I kept hammering on it and hammering on it and hammering on it. And I went on Glenn Beck's show and I said, here is what you need to fucking do about this. You need to get that training off of LinkedIn. And then Tucker Carlson's producer heard that. And oh, lo and behold, Tucker Carlson's talking point was, you need to get this training off of LinkedIn. If the right had been left to their own devices on that, nothing would have happened with that story because they were like, memes. That's all. We're going to change the world with memes. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then they harassed me so badly for weeks on end that I fucking quit and I walked away and I left a giant folder of documents that I had been sent from organizations all over the place because it was not worth it to me to help these people. And I only came back probably, let me see, that was February, March, April, May, June, July, around 6 months later. I came back around 6 months later because I was working with parent groups. And it was the parent groups who brought me back. It was the parent groups working with the real people in the real world. Because I helped get a bill passed in New Hampshire to well, supposedly ban critical race theory. It doesn't really, but I suppose it's better than nothing. And I started working with a lot of parent groups as a result of that. Not on Twitter, of course, so it didn't fucking matter. It wasn't on Twitter, so it wasn't real. I question all the time why I even bother with these people. Because of bullshit like this.
Concession stand, the beer concession line, where Bud Light, there was no line, no one standing there ordering, and there was a line like 40 people deep for beer at a different concession stand. So that's why I was basically saying, like, no one has sympathy for that concession stand worker. That's why I came up with the reference to the concession stand person.
That
is that
is
punishing
why
the
you
concession
lose.
stand person?
That
No.
is
But here's the
why
thing
you
also.
lose.
You know what?
Why should the concession stand guy continue to work the concession stand when you spit at his fucking face?
If here's the thing that she's missing, which I did not bring up to her yesterday. If that person feels so undervalued and they're actually doing quality reporting, quality investigative journalism, here's a newsflash for you. Their name will get known in the industry. They'll get other jobs. They don't have to, if Project Veritas goes down.
Not if you drive them away because you treat them like dirt. Not everyone wants to put up with your never-ending supply of bullshit. Again, most of the good activists, most of the activists that are actually getting shit done, actually changing things on a local level, actually helping out parents, actually suing schools, most of them have quit because of how hard you assholes make this entire thing for no good reason. Because when you're sharing memes and lulz on Twitter, they're actually doing real shit. And you make it fucking impossible for them. It is fucking impossible. Again, the only reason that I'm still doing this is because I was able to make inroads in other audiences that are not the conservative, do nothing, jack off fucking right.
Because James O'Keefe brings down Project Veritas, whether it's by sharing an expose and inside look behind the scenes what's going on, or because he successfully lies about them. Because I don't know whether he's telling the truth or not. But if he's successful, that's not causing harm to the investigative reporter who broke the story, because that investigative reporter, I'm confident, will have very little difficulty finding new employment, because they will have that on their resume. Hey, I broke the Pfizer story. They don't need the entire public at large to know about that. That's
not actually the point. This is what these morons, M169, I'm really glad you revealed yourself as like not being smart enough to be in my audience. You were for a little while, but like, honestly, this is what these morons do not understand. It is not about fucking branding. It is not about having a name. It is about the content. It is about the material. It is about the story and understanding what is important and understanding what is not important. The reason you assholes are losing is because you constantly focus on things that are not important. In this very stream, oh, they don't care about Hunter Biden's laptop. No one fucking cares about Hunter Biden's laptop. Nothing is going to come from Hunter Biden's laptop. It is a talking point that you guys use to rile up your base to make money, in which everyone is very well aware that nothing is ever going to happen with Hunter Biden's laptop. There is not one person on this planet that is hinged into reality that doesn't understand that nothing is going to happen with Hunter Biden's laptop. And yet that's where you guys focus all the time because you want to be distracted. Dylan Mulvaney, Dylan Mulvaney, Dylan Mulvaney, Dylan Mulvaney. Another one. The right has put more money in Dylan Mulvaney's pocket than the left could ever dare dream. Because they're calling, Dylan Mulvaney's doing this, Dylan Mulvaney's doing that. Can we hate watch another Dylan Mulvaney video for the 87th time today? Can we hate watch more Dylan Mulvaney, please? Are you fucking shitting me? Are you fucking shitting me? This is why you deserve to have your children transed in school. Because you ignore the people that are telling you how it's happening. God damn it, these people.
What's significant for them at this stage in their career? Still spicy about not blowing up like she thought she would have the Coke Be Less White story. She did break that, but her numbers haven't risen. Janice is working the Pfizer story with the undercover reporter a year before it was released, making sure the reporter knows it was going to be a long-term investigation.
No, wrong.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Wrong.
Honestly, mainstream media does not do investigative reporting anymore.
Made
they
up.
have the local stations that rely on press releases. Journalists undercover are 1099 contractors. No, I
God.
think so.
Are you kidding me?
The
And one of
right
the things that
is
he
the
came
only
at me
reason
on,
I
he
even know who
really
Dylan
tried
Mulvaney
to
is. That's exactly
make
right.
it seem
God,
as though I was
damn
trying
it.
to start a fight with him. He tried to make it seem as though I was just acting holier than thou
She was.
because I said that I don't think
Yes,
the
Joe, I'm
person
better
who
than you.
actually broke the
100% better
Pfizer
than you.
story
Every day of the
is
fucking week.
any
There, I
less
said it. Are you happy?
valuable than James O'Keefe.
No,
Because I don't.
no, it's
I'm
because she
sorry.
tried pinning. You
And
tried
I
pinning
don't
me.
think people like
You tried pinning me into basically saying that, like, oh, you're undervaluing them. You just call them concession stand
You are
workers.
undervaluing
How
them.
dare you?
You have admitted
that
several
are
times on
easily
this stream you're
replaceable.
undervaluing
They
I'm
are.
them.
sorry. They're not.
They are
In the real
replaceable.
world, they're not.
I disagree with you on that.
He thinks that every investigative journalist is replaceable. He just said it. Yes, they are replaceable. I disagree with you. He thinks that everyone who gives up their lives, gives up their fucking sanity to do this type of thing is just replaceable. Just like it doesn't matter if we drive activists away from by treating them like dirt. It doesn't matter if we smear them to the point where they no longer want to help us. It doesn't matter if we treat them so horribly and take all their credit and take all their fucking clout to feed the egos of our narcissistic influencers. It doesn't matter if we do that. You want to know why? Because we can just get more, guys. We can just get more because we have so many activists on the conservative right. We have Scott Pressler and we have Andy No and it doesn't matter that we only have two guys. It doesn't matter that we only have two because you know what? Investigative journalists are just a dime a dozen. And there are going to be so many people that are going to be so excited to come and work for us because we have made it feel so appealing to be treated like dirt, to be undervalued, to be told that you're not going to read their stuff because they're not James O'Keefe, to be smeared, to have their friends doxxed. We have just made it seem so I just don't know how anyone could possibly turn down this job. It just seems, guys in the chat, doesn't it seem, don't you all want to sign up to be investigative journalists for the right now? Because they just have a revolving door of people who are just dying to kill themselves so that no one can read their work because they're not James O'Keefe, so that people will shit on them, so that people will call them the concession stand guy, so that assholes like this will smear them on the internet and lie about them and defame them so that people will dox their friends. You know, I just don't know how. I don't know. Seems pretty appealing to me. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to pay them any money either. You know, they have to crowdfund their own salary and they have to work for years and years and years doing a full-time job and also making sure they crowdfund. Because, like, God, got a little too into it. Because guys, not only do you get to become an investigative journalist for the right, not only do you get to have the right smear you all the time and overlook your efforts, but we're not going to pay you. Don't worry about that mortgage. You'll be able to get another full-time job in addition to your investigative journalism job because we're not going to pay you. And eventually, if you work really, really, really hard for 10 years, probably more, but at least 10 years, then you might be able to crowdfund enough on your own for us to give your journalism a moment's fucking attention. By then it'll be too late because all our kids will be transed in the fucking schools. But that's okay because we have memes and lulls. Oh, and by the way, in that time period, we worked Scott Pressler into an early fucking grave, and Andy No has since lost interest in being attacked by Antifa all the time, and we haven't really replaced them, but I promise they're coming. All the independent journalists are coming to work just for us. Have these people like ever run businesses? Have these people like ever been in the workplace or the real world at all?
I think a lot of people could do what was done there. I'm curious whether you guys think
Joe,
I'm wrong on that. Perhaps I am wrong on that.
You
I
are
don't,
wrong
I don't,
on
I don't
that.
think it's like that challenging a job to be to basically. I mean, let's think about what the Pfizer reporter did. Okay, what they did basically was they presumably created some sort of social media account, and I'm presumably did not do this on their own. I would think that there was a
They created a social media account, and that's all they did. That's all the Pfizer reporter had to do to break the Pfizer story was create a social media account. Okay.
team of people to help them create a
Oh no,
sufficiently
they did.
alluring
They had a
account,
team of people create
and
a
then
social media account
helped
for them. Oh,
basically
okay,
bait
okay,
someone in, bait this
okay.
dude into responding and set up a date, and then managed. And the difficult part, the challenging part, is being sufficiently conniving to engage the person and get them to say things that they never would have wanted to be viewed in a video. But is this something that
So why don't you go do it, Joe? Why don't you do it? If it's so easy, if it is so easy to expose Pfizer, all you need to do is create a Tinder account and you know you gotta go and model and get some modelly headshots to make yourself look really appealing, and then you need to go out on a date. And on that date, the Pfizer guy is going to tell you everything that's going on as all it's good. We can wrap this up in a weekend, guys. This is not that we will have our team of people create you the perfect social media account so that you can go out on a date, and that's where they're going to tell you what's going on, and that's all you're going to have to do. And really, I can just hire you on a contractor basis because I'm not going to need you for more than like a couple of days, maybe a week tops. But I'm the dumb one. But I'm the remember, according to LawTube, I am uninformed and unintelligent.
I think there's probably 10,000 people who could have done that.
Yes.
I don't think this is a difficult thing. I think there's probably 100,000 people out there I think who could have done that.
And the proof of that is that there are 100,000 people on the conservative right now doing investigative journalism. It's so easy that anyone can do it. Anyone can. Are you like, oh my fucking God?
I mean, basically, you're talking about successful catfishing. I mean, there are high school kids who are good catfishers. That's what this was. It was good catfishing.
Yeah, that's all it is. Catfishing.
I'm curious whether
That's
you guys
all it
think
is.
that I was.
That's all it is. That Joe once saw an episode of Catfish, and that's all that we're. That's all that. Oh my fucking God! This is truly worse than I ever even remotely anticipated it would be. I'm gonna watch maybe a couple more minutes. I'm not gonna go that much longer because I just can't. Like, this is Reagan. What was the timestamp for that socialist that was like 2 hours and 20 some odd minutes, I think. I cannot believe he just fucking said that. I seriously, how is he a lawyer? I cannot believe he just said that there are 100,000 people who would be ready to go to be investigative journalists and who could basically infiltrate Pfizer in a weekend with a Tinder profile. Oh my God. 2 out. Thank you, Reagan. You're the best. Let's fast forward. Because God knows I'm not getting through this whole video.
And she's like, but I can't, I want the numbers, but okay.
Not
Everything
actually
after
what
the
I
but,
said
you
at
can
all,
just sort of
Joe.
just
Not actually
grab
what
the
I
big
said at
eraser
all. If
and
I
just
wanted, Joe,
erase.
Again, I know we covered this earlier, Joe, but I would really like you and your audience to stay the fuck away from my channel. Like, truly, stay the fuck away. You're not wanted here. You're not smart enough to be here. You want me to be a narcissist? I'll give you the narcissist bitch that you've been waiting for. You are not smart enough for me. Therefore, I do not want you here. You can stay away. Your numbers are not worth it to me. I already have the numbers that I need. It's not on YouTube, bro. Allotrope, is it even worth talking to them? No, that's exactly the point, Allotrope. It is not worth talking to them at all. They see and hear what they want. I hear your words, but they only see your hair or something. Yeah, that's Allotrope. This is exactly my point. This is exactly and precisely my point. They are not worth talking to. It is such a waste of time. And this is why I was trying to explain to you guys about like why I don't go anywhere near these people, why I don't go on their shows, why I don't even bother to try, because it is such a giant waste of time. And it always ends up with their audience smearing me, with their audience doxing me, with their audience not being smart enough to understand what I'm talking about, their audience doxing my friends. Like, it always ends up in the same place. It is not fucking worth it. It is not worth it at all. These people these people have 100,000 people that want to come do investigative journalism for them. They got all they need. They don't need me. They can stay the fuck away. But I'm just desperate for numbers, remember?
But
Drink coffee.
I think that's as big a compliment as
I guess the biggest thing that I really want people to understand is that, well, a couple things. Number one, different people have different values.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, I'm going to think that my values are better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're my values.
Yeah, but you don't have to be
like,
a
if I thought
it.
that your values were better than my values, then
My values are so far superior
I
to yours,
probably
it's not
would
even in
not
the
have
same
the values
fucking
that I have,
ballpark.
right? But people are allowed to think differently. They're allowed.
But you don't seem to respect that in other people. That's the thing.
Oh no.
You're saying this now, but you don't seem to
No,
respect it.
I fully respect it in other people, Joe. I just want you to stay the fuck away from me. You can go, I mean, you're in New York, so this shouldn't be a problem at all. But like, can you please just stay away from New Hampshire? Go away. You're not wanted here. Don't come around me. Like, you're allowed to have whatever New York values you want in New York. Maybe someday you'll probably end up in Florida. You're allowed to have whatever Florida values you want in Florida. Like, it makes no difference to me, bro.
Than other people. That's the problem.
To see the world differently. They're allowed to.
Ain't it the
You're
truth,
allowed to hero
Yasmin?
worship James O'Keefe. You're allowed to. You are allowed to never look at any undercover journalism or investigative journalism that is not directly related to James O'Keefe. You are allowed to do that. But I'm allowed to say that I don't think that James O'Keefe is any more valuable than the people that you will never know the name of.
Yeah, well, his salary seems to imply otherwise. Apparently, Project Veritas thinks he's more valuable.
That actually got the
Well, not anymore. Not anymore. See, you just said it. Like, the only thing that matters is James O'Keefe makes more money, and you know, that's really all that matters in the world is money and appearance. I can do this all fucking night. It's like, Jesus, it's the same thing over and 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 over again in the land of fucking conservative idiocy. Pfizer story. I think the person who actually got the Pfizer story is incredibly valuable.
That's a socialist perspective. That's a socialist perspective. That's what that is.
Excuse me, what? Believing the journalist who broke the Pfizer story is valuable is a socialist perspective? Let's listen to that again. Just to be sure we heard what we thought. This is just like when we do socialism on Saturday. Oh, wait, no, Allotrope's got a super chat. Thank you, Allotrope.
I think pushing forward as you are now with exposing boards of education and telling the truth constantly will help give you an edge when the situation enters politics and media in the future. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really care about having an edge over anyone. I just want to teach people what I know, and that's really all I want to do. And I just want to like go and infiltrate stuff, and that's really all I want to do. Whatever happens with it, happens with it. It's not my monkeys, not my circus, man. I fully expect that none of these people will ever care about anything I do, that the media will never report on anything that I do. I fully and completely expect that. I have no expectation that that will ever change. Um, but as long as I'm teaching people, that's really all I care about. And the thing of it is like I've kind of come around to the idea that I think we're totally and completely fucked. You guys know this. Like, we are on the long, slow descent into socialism. Ain't no way these people ever going to help us out. Apparently, they believe that thinking people who do valuable things is socialist, which is just ridiculous in and of itself. And I, I, I've started to view it as my job to prepare people for what's coming. If that makes any sense, this is something I haven't really talked about publicly, but in my head at least, I've started to like almost like I'm still breaking down the ideology and stuff and putting it in plain English, but I've really started to see the role as preparing people who want to know what's coming so that we can be prepared for it. Because we can't save everyone. There ain't no saving this. There is no saving this. He doesn't even want to be. He lives in fucking New York. He doesn't want to be saved. He wants to be in fucking New York. That's the dumbest place to live in the world. It is going to take a meteor to hit Earth to prevent socialism from coming. We are already fucking there. And it's partially because idiots like this are dicking around and saying, to say that the journalist who broke the Pfizer story is valuable is a socialist perspective. That's really what they think socialism is. Yeah, at this point, we see the hurricane coming. We might as well learn how to stormproof ourselves. Yeah. It's not about his personality or Carlin's as much as it is about Socialism Saturday and other research projects. That's right. God damn it. Let's just listen to that part again. Then the people that you will never know the name of.
Yeah, well, his salary seems to imply otherwise. Apparently, Project Veritas thinks he's more valuable.
That actually got the Pfizer story. I think the person who actually got the Pfizer story is incredibly valuable.
That's a socialist perspective. That's a socialist perspective.
That's a socialist perspective. All right, guys. Well, I think I've made my point. I don't think we need to watch any more of this colossal shit show. There's just nothing else to say. There really isn't. So, guys, I apologize that we did this tonight instead of me writing the piece that I wanted to write for the Substack. But if you would like to be informed about what is actually going on, then one of the many places that you can be informed about what is actually going on that will keep you so far ahead of anyone on LawTube, so far ahead of the conservative Twitterati, so far ahead of almost anyone, with the possible exception of like James Lindsay's audience. James Lindsay's audience, the hardcore people, are really far ahead too. So I'm not suggesting we're like the only ones on the internet. There are also there are other activists who talk about these sorts of things. So we're not alone out in the ether, but there aren't very many of us. And so I am doing my very best to curate the best content that I know that is coming out of the Unwoke space, the things that are important, the things that you actually need to understand. breaking down the language, showing you video in their own words, showing you where authoritarianism is showing up on the right, because that's going to be a whole other fresh hell that we're going to have to deal with, showing you what's going on in the schools, doing original reporting that no one else in the world is doing. If you want that, then one of the places you can find that is my Substack, Carlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. My Substack, contrary to what Joe thinks, is actually my main content hub. It is where I am producing the best work. It is where I am producing the most important work. It is where I am producing the things that I think are going to teach people not only about what is going on in the world right now, but is going to help people make sense of it and to understand what they're seeing. And it is my job to teach you so that you can understand it, you can articulate it, and you can teach other people. Because none of this works without the small group of committed people who want to make sure that people are as prepared as they can be for what is coming. Carlyn, do you plan on breaking down the language with the counter dialectic? I break down their language quite frequently. I don't know necessarily, and maybe it's because it's 3:30 a.m. in the morning, what you mean by the counter dialectic. So if you want to give me more about that, I can better answer. Conservatives can be varied. Some are open to these topics, but they will get a rude awakening if not, like everyone else. Well, that's very true. And one of the things I want to say is that I know I've generalized a lot about conservatives in this stream. If you feel personally attacked, this is not targeted at you. I have many conservatives who consume my work, who are valued members of my community. But I think we can all understand why I might look at some significant portions of the conservative right and to find their, well, commitment to be lacking and distracting from what it is we're trying to do. And so I welcome all political beliefs on my channel. You don't have to be a political persuasion. Jenny's getting equal with it. I did not see the super chat, apparently. Oh, Joe at this point is just controlled opposition. Thank you for I actually didn't even see it come up, Jenny, so thank you for that. I don't think he's smart enough to be controlled opposition. I think he's just a guy with a YouTube channel with a really dumb audience that is doing his thing. And he'll be successful. He will be. He'll be very successful because there are a lot of idiots on YouTube. It's just the way it goes. But I wouldn't say he's controlled opposition. I don't think he's smart enough for that. Words have become weaponized in accordance to NLP by the globalists. That's exactly right. They are weaponizing definitions. I just kept having it confirmed for me that most well, there are nice conservatives. There are smart conservatives. I just wish that their trash weren't quite so trashy. That's true enough, Terrell. His willful ignorance makes him that. He's more concerned about entertainment and money than doing anything. People are allowed to be more concerned with entertainment and money. They're allowed. But you know what? Fuck it. If these people are so committed to calling me a narcissist, then from now on, I'm just going to say it. I am better than them. All of you are better than them. We do better work than them. We have more of an impact than they do on the lives of real people, not the internet bullshit, not the people who are spreading smear campaigns on people, the real people in the real world that don't even fucking have Twitter accounts. They want me to be a narcissist? Fine. My work is better than most of the work in the unwoke space on the internet. Absolutely. And I'm not going to apologize for saying so anymore because I'm sick of this bullshit. I am sick and tired of pretending that the guy who quite literally believes that breaking the Pfizer story was a matter of creating a Tinder profile and going on a date. I am sick and tired of pretending that what that person is doing is superior to what I'm doing. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. They're going to call me a narcissist anyway, so fuck it. And guess what? You can all embrace your inner narcissist too, because again, the people who are in my audience and the people I hope to welcome into the audience in the future are smarter by far than the vast majority of people he has in his audience. So let's all embrace our fucking inner narcissism. You know what? Because the people who believe in themselves are usually the people who actually do great things. And if you don't believe that you can do great things, then you probably never will. I'm not saying he isn't, but pretending to have conversations about the cultural hell we are all in and telling people things are turning around just encourages people to sit back and relax. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Agreed. As someone who's doing a small workshop for parents who homeschool down here, reading them the communist stuff to prepare them for the inevitable. Yes, that's what you need to be doing. Doing small workshops in your communities, teaching people what you know, even if it's just a couple of people, but you really fucking teach them. You really fucking teach them. You help them. You support them. That is much more important than having a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers. That is going to be more impactful because most of the people who are on YouTube are here for entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're allowed to be here for entertainment, but let's not pretend that shitposting is the same thing as teaching people in your community how to homeschool your kids. What you're doing is incredibly valuable and you need to keep doing it. Yes, we are all brave and beautiful, bot. Remember, you're all in a cult. You can pick your cult card up on the way out the door. All right, guys. That's all I've got for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We are never talking about this asshole again. Let's move on, and we'll do more important things tomorrow. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.